And we are live. This is the first session of what I hope will be a long-running campaign of our 3Brothers campaign setting, running with D&D 5th edition. I have 4 players here ready to jump into the session, so I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. Feel free to plug your YouTube channels if you want, guys, and just give a brief capsule description of your characters. So first of all, we will go to Matthew. Matthew, introduce yourself and say a bit about your character.
Hello, as John said, I am Matthew and I am playing Drax, the Tempest Cleric, who, upon seeing him in this campaign, he is around 7 foot tall, has a kind of coppery luster to his scales, looks kind of young for a Dragonborn if you can tell their age, carries a warhammer on his shoulder with the confidence to use it, with a enlarged dragon scale around his neck. From a real dragon, it would appear. He seems to look out as if he's taking in his surroundings, not bothered by the movement of the wagons and the sounds of the surrounding him as he contemplates his thoughts.
Okay, thank you very much. So next we'll come on to Rob. Rob, introduce yourself and say a bit about your character.
Hi, I'm Rob the Swamper. I'm playing Watum. He is about 5'10", bald, completely bald, dark-skinned, medium brown, say. He's wearing sort of purplish robes. He has a necklace on a white chain, and at the end of the necklace is an eyeball inside a glass sphere that looks around and blinks. He's sitting on this wagon train across from Ordeus. And he's actually enjoying himself at the moment.
Okay, thanks very much, Rob. Then we come to Thashif. If you can introduce yourself and say a bit about your character.
Hello, I'm Thashif. The channel needs no introduction because it's not really a thing. And I'm playing Ordeus Morlin. And he's a little over 7 foot tall. He's a half-orc, and everyone here has probably seen a half-orc at some point in his life, and Ordeus is particularly pale for one. He's got his receding jet-black hairline, he's got his yellow cloth makeshift eye patch, his other eye is white. The tips of his fingers have been replaced with kind of wooden prosthetics, and he's constantly tapping away at them, looking around. He's wearing a bright yellow shirt and has very dark, not black, but very dark blue coat. A very dark blue coat on. He has tiny tusks coming up, and he's carrying a backpack with a lot of pouches. His only visible weapon is a sword and a crossbow. He kind of has a stern expression on his face, and he is traveling next to Watum.
Okay, thank you very much, Thashif. And last but by no means least, we come to Jenny. Jenny, introduce yourself and say a bit about your character, please.
Certainly. So, I'm Jenny, aka the Rogue DM, and my character, Everstar Tholej, is a half-elf sorcerer. He is sitting very much within the wagon, more to the point in order to make everyone kind of forget he's there. He is a noble. And normally he would not be seen dead in these sort of very primitive wagons. But unfortunately on his long journey towards the so-called Dragonstone Tower, far into the 3Brothers Valley, he has decided to eventually seek some assistance in getting there.
Okay, thank you very much. And we start the game, as you've all alluded to, with you travelling on a small wagon train. It consists of 3 wooden wagons with tarps over the top of them. They are dyed in a variety of sort of strange colours, blues, purples, etc. And they have many astrological symbols drawn or dyed onto the outside of this canvas covering. The wagon train belongs to the Freedling clan, a clan of rock gnomes who travel around the various areas of this land, including the Valley of 3Brothers. The wagon train you're on is travelling south towards Battlebridge. The leader of this wagon train, the person who allowed you access to it, is an old man by the name of Gudbrand Hemmingson. He has a long, bushy, white moustache and permanently has a long, white pipe sticking out of his mouth. He hums and tuts under his breath a lot as the wagon train's moving on. There's a semi-permanent cloud of smoke seeming to envelop his head, aside from when he taps out his pipe. Now, as you're moving along, I'd like each of you to think a little bit about how you came to be on this wagon train. I'm not going to ask you for the details yet, but we will ask you in the near future. As you're moving along on this wagon train, you're all in the head wagon that is winding its way down this rough dirt path between wooded and hilly terrain on the road heading south towards Battlebridge, which has grown from a small trading post into being really the largest town on this particular island. As you're all sat in this wagon train, Watum and Audius and Drax, pretty much everyone aside from Avastar, who is secreted inside the wagon, you notice a little bit of movement in the far distant tree line. The old rock gnome seems not to have particularly noticed it. He's sat there humming to himself as he holds the reins of this small pony that's pulling the lead wagon train. He breathes out a billowing cloud of smoke and looks like we're not going to make it before nightfall, he shouts back, breathing out another cloud of this smoke.
I turned down to Watum, and did you see that in the distance?
Is that normal for this area? I am a stranger. In a strange land.
I'm not from this area either, and I don't think it's normal. Someone should probably warn the old man.
You hear as you're thinking that, you hear the slightly crotchety voice of Gudbrand go, "What's that up ahead in the road?" And you can see him sort of leaning forward and straining his eyes through his small round spectacles, squinting to see something ahead.
I'm studying him as much as I'm glancing at what he's looking at.
I turn to the right and try to see what's on the road as well.
Okay, Watum, studying the old man Gudbrand, you can see that he's wearing a sort of collection of clothes that look as though they've been thrown together. They're many layered. He's obviously layered himself up for the slightly cooler climate here. You can see that he also is festooned with all manner of strange trinkets and what you assume to be perhaps good luck charms or something similar. Odd sort of bits of leather thonging with strangely twisted and sculpted bits of metal and wood hanging from them, so that when he moves, even if it's just to raise his arms to shake the reins, he makes a slight jangling sound as he moves from all these bizarre sort of contraptions that he appears to have fastened almost haphazardly over his costume. He has a large tube of some kind fastened to his back, although he's never revealed what's in it or mentioned it at all. It's just slung over his shoulder with a simple leather thonging.
I make a mental note to purchase some warmer clothing in the next town.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Audius, you said you were looking out ahead, is that correct?
Yeah. I want to see what's the obstruction, assuming there's one. Okay.
What is Audius's vision like in terms of like the sort of slowly dimming light levels that we have?
Audius is a half-orc, so he has dark vision. He can see up to 60 feet without any impediment to his vision.
Okay, splendid. As you peer ahead, you can definitely see there's a couple of sort of dark shapes sort of lying in the road, and you can see what you can't really make out exactly what it is because it's facing away from you, but there's some sort of hooded figure bent down over these large shadowed shapes in the middle of the road.
Alright, I put my hand on the driver. Stop the caravan. I don't like the looks of that at all.
What? I don't have time to stop the caravan. I've got to get my consignment from the Battlebridge. We don't want to be there in the evening when it comes to the first night of trade meet. Oh, I've heard all manner of stories about the place when the sun goes down.
look, this doesn't... I get kind of frustrated, and I suspect he might not trust me because of my racial heritage. And I say, look, whatever's ahead doesn't look safe. You want to get through in one piece? You want to be certain of it?
All right,
Let me
young
take
man.
a look.
All right, keep your hair on, young man. Whoa, steady there, steady there. And he pulls back on the reins, and slowly this pony tosses an indignant look over its shoulder and slowly begins to grind to a halt. The carriage continues moving for a short distance, the wheels making a as they move over the rough dirt track, before eventually it comes to a stop. You hear shouts from the two wagon trains behind you as they likewise slowly begin pulling to a halt. Whilst this is going on, what's Drax doing?
Drax was in his own thoughts until the moment the caravan began to grind to a halt. At that point, he sort of comes to himself. Ah, are we here? Directed at the leader of the caravan.
No, there's something in the road up ahead. Your young fellow there wants me to stop. And well, I've stopped. I mean, if it's a blockage or something, we'll have to clear it off the road. And he huffs under his breath, sounding almost strangely like the horse that's pulling the carriage.
Drax stands up to his full height. He kind of nimbly jumps off of the wagon, giving a nod to his fellow companions. Perhaps we should go check it out then.
Wait, I don't like the looks of it at all. Why don't I go investigate? And I look mainly at Watum when I say this. And how about the two of you stay back?
I smile and nod.
Bit.
I'm smiling and just observing this whole experience. This is very interesting. So,
the old man on the wagon seems quite happy with your suggestion, Audius, that you're going to investigate. He's like, by all means, off you go, young man.
Drax
There seems to be a...
sorry,
go ahead. All right. Okay, go ahead.
Drax sort of sniffs and he's like, I'm not afraid to go and face them if that was your question, Odious. But if you wish to go ahead, I see wisdom in your thinking.
Yes, if you two stay back about 60 feet, or maybe a little bit closer, I'll talk to that man up there and see what his intentions are.
Well, then I'll stay here and guard the wagon, shall I?
Yes. And be careful, this might be some sort of trick. Well, this has heard of people playing, bandits playing tricks like this, but he's never experienced it. He begins to walk down the road carefully to this hidden figure and these dark objects.
Okay, you climb off the side of the wagon and you begin making your way down this dirt path.
And
you barely call it a road, it's compacted dirt, basically. It's getting quite dark now. It's actually moved into being night.
As I'm walking, I'm taking out my hooded lantern and lighting it. My goal is that to make sure the area around where this strange stuff is happening will be brightly illuminated for everyone else.
Okay, splendid. Can you please make me a perception roll? Difficulty 10.
I got a 10. Hooray for that, +2.
Okay, splendid. As you make your way towards these mounds and this figure in the road, you can see it's a person wearing like a tattered shawl and some kind of dress, but facing away from you. You can see the two mounds in the road slowly resolve themselves as you move nearer into the shape of two horses. They appear dead. You can see sort of pools of dark blood, black against the night sky and the pale light of the two moons hanging over you. And you can hear, now you're getting nearer, this faint sobbing sound coming from the figure.
And the figure is standing?
The figure is crouched down as though it's crouched over the horses. You can see its hands, which look pale in the moonlight, are actually on the flanks of one of these deceased horses.
I stand up straight, with my left hand on my hand crossbow, ready to pull it out. Hello? Are you in some sort of trouble?
The figure starts a little, obviously not having heard you approach, and turns around. And you can see it's quite an elderly-looking human woman wearing a shawl over her head. She sees you and immediately runs towards you and shouts, "Oh, yeah, thank the gods! They killed our horses!" And she runs towards you. You can see tracks of tears down her face. She looks in severe distress as she runs towards you.
All right. I kind of relax a bit now. All right. Why don't you come back to the caravan? We'll be happy to. The caravan leader's very friendly. He'll be happy to give you passage, I'm sure.
There's a sort of hopeful smile on her face as she runs towards you. Then as she gets close enough to see you with her inferior human vision and sees that you're a half-orc, she lets out a "Ah!" and starts backwards, and she turns around and immediately begins running in the opposite direction down the road, going, "No! Stay away! Stay away!"
Wait, I'm not. What if... Last time I did the talking...
Quickly, you can all hear this woman shrieking, although you can't make out the details of the conversation that's passed between the two of them. But she's quite an old woman. She's not exactly running fast. She's just like, "Ah! Ah!" running back down this road away from you.
I go after her to try and catch her, but I know this is probably going to terrify her, so I wave over Watum, because I know him to have a friendly disposition, and might be able to calm her down a little bit more than I possibly could. Wait, no, stop running! You're not going to get hurt!
Stay away! Stay away!
Alright, so I'll climb down. I'm not in any hurry. I'm, again, kind of bemused by this whole thing, and this is all neat and unique and a new experience for me. So I go walking over to Ordius. How may I assist?
She's afraid of my appearance. Can you calm her down? Explain what's going on?
I'm going to approach her slowly. I'm going to have my hands open and held low, and I'm going to say, "Even the ugliest baby is still but a baby. Do not let his appearance frighten you."
She sort of half turns around, still running, as she hears your calm, even tones talking to her. And as she turns around, not paying attention to where she's going, she trips over one of the dead horses, and there's a slightly sort of sickening squelch as she lands in a pool of this half-congealed horse blood that has pooled in one of the dips in the path. She lets out another shriek and sort of tries scrambling to her feet and trying to wipe this blood off.
I instinctively help her up. Try to help her up. She might scream when I come closer.
Okay. She does seem to calm down slightly as you actually go over to help her up when it becomes obvious you're not going to attack her or anything. And it seems as though her fear of being covered in blood has overwhelmed her fear of you, and she actually sort of takes your arm and allows you to pull her up to her feet. You see she's quite out of breath from her exertion. Like I say, she's advanced in years. She's like...
See, you should listen to my friend here. A newborn baby is... Yeah.
Oh, I'm ever so sorry, sir. I thought you were one of them.
One of who?
One of them?
Those things that took my husband, killed our horses. They came out of nowhere.
I think that would be quite impossible.
She looks at you, confused for a moment, as though she doesn't quite understand what you're saying to her.
One cannot come from nowhere. One must always come from somewhere.
He's right. We should take you back to the caravan.
She nods, like I say, quite out of breath, and she allows herself to be led back towards the caravan.
At the smell of blood, Drax begins to approach.
When I see this, I turn to him and maybe you should escort her.
As you say that, she grabs hold of your arm a little tighter as you say, maybe this huge dragon bone should escort you, and she sort of
no.
I
meant what term? What term?
An audible sigh of relief. And
Yes.
Still, your
take it back to the.
I mean you no harm.
Drax, was it?
Indeed.
All right. Well, there are some horses on the road. You look strong. Why don't you help me move them?
Would the woman be okay? I have talents in the area of medical aid. If she requires...
Okay, Drax, with your medical knowledge, in fact, can you make me some form of medicine roll?
Yeah, I certainly can, John.
Difficulty's only 10.
Okay. I think I just get it. Yeah, just get a 10 on the nose.
Okay. Looking at the woman, you can see that she doesn't appear to have sustained any major injuries. She's got little cuts and bruises, etc. And obviously she's half covered in this congealing horse blood that's sort of going thick and claggy in the cold night air. That's getting more and more cold as night moves on. You can see that, however, she looks quite shaken, and although she's in a state of shock, she's shaking visibly as she allows herself to be led back to the caravan.
She doesn't appear to be injured.
Good.
Okay.
I will help her up onto the wagon, and I will offer to stay with her.
Lead the way, or just I will come with you.
Right. So I go to I show you where the horses have been. Like, how were they killed, John?
Okay, as you get nearer to the horses, you can see them in more detail. You can see there are a number of what appear to be crudely made arrows protruding from various parts of the horse carcasses.
All right. I take a look at one of the arrow and I'd see if I can get a sense of what kind of creature would utilize such a thing.
Okay.
Might be a nature check.
Yeah, I'll go with
investigation.
Yeah, I'll go with investigation as well. That's absolutely fine. The difficulty will be 15.
Alright, I've got a 9, and luckily, investigation is a thing I put my expertise in. So that is a 6. That is a 15.
Okay. As you're looking at these arrows, you can see they're a little bit smaller than normal arrows. They're very crudely and primitively made. They actually don't have metal heads in them. They have flint sort of heads in the arrows.
Alright, so I put it down and I grab some of the legs of the horses and I gesture for Drax to do the same on the opposite end, and do you require like a strength check for us to move them?
No, that's absolutely fine. It'll take you a few minutes, but I'm willing to say between the two of you can sort of lift these horses out.
Yeah. So, Drax, you get the sense that you're definitely stronger than me, as I'm not as helpful to moving these large horses as you are, and I'm talking to you while you're doing this. So these arrows seem to be someone smaller than usual and very crude. Wondering, do you know about kobolds?
Would I?
You'd have probably heard something about them. They're a small sort of reptilian creature.
You could do a knowledge roll, John, to determine how much information he gets. Intelligence or nature, perhaps.
Yeah, I'd say if you go for a nature roll.
Yep, sure. So wasn't sure what commonly wear in this world. Okay. Nature, just a straight roll. That was a 19. Oh, nice.
Okay, yeah, you have heard of kobolds. They're small reptilian creatures, cowardly by nature. They have an almost sort of superstitious dread/worship of dragons and dragonkind. But that's really all you know about them. You don't remember hearing that they're particularly common in this area, but you are a stranger to the area. You've only heard sort of rumours and tales about it. So.
Okay, so Drax looks down. He looks down at the corpses of the horses and scans around the horizon, see if he can spot any other little buggers around Saint Aureus. Opportunistic filth. They're probably scarpered.
My thoughts exactly, but you see that woman? She mentioned her husband was taken, and let's say the old me would have just liked to have continued on with the caravan and be on its way, but recently I've learned that that's not always the best option. So I think someone's going to have to help her out. You seem capable.
I can hold myself in a fight.
Okay, since you're looking around while you're having this conversation, Drax, to see if you can see anything in the trees, can you make me a perception roll, please?
Both of us.
I'm not looking around like you are.
Okay.
You then.
Is that perception, was it?
That's correct.
Oh, one of my better skills. So that's a 21.
Okay. So around about this sort of area, you can see behind the trees some movement, although whatever it is, it's very furtive and is taking pains to conceal itself.
I sort of Drax narrows his eyes in that direction. I thought I just caught something over there. My eyesight is not too good in this current sunlight. Can you see anything over there? Just sort of readying my shield and my warhammer just in case.
Right. I look in the direction he's pointing.
Okay, again, make a perception roll.
And I got a 9.
You can see some movement amongst the trees, but it could be birds for all you know.
Well, lots of creatures live in the forest, not all of them malevolent. You shouldn't jump at every single thing. That's the last of the horses. Might have to have words with the caravan master. He might want to continue on anyway, but someone should talk to that woman.
We should secure the caravan before we think about going after this guy. They could be waiting for a chance to strike.
Well, he's been traveling on this trail for quite some time. It'd be foolish to think he doesn't know a thing or two about keeping safe from events such as this. So let's go back and talk to him.
As the two of you are saying this, there's a and two of these crudely made arrows jettison out of the foliage to your right and thud a few meters away from you into the bodies of these horses that you've shifted to the side of the road. You see other arrows hit the side of the wagons. The two of you, Watum and Avastar, inside the wagons. You actually see a couple of these flint arrowheads burst through the side of the wagons, and you hear Audia shout, "We're under attack!"
I'm actually shocked awake because at this point I would have nodded off. And I turned to Watum and said, "What was that?
Apparently there is trouble ahead. I shall go find out the meaning. I do not know.
Do. I want this carriage to continue."
I climbed down.
I'm going to ask you all to make initiative rolls, please.
Serpentine.
Are we in some kind of combat?
Really? Oh, wonderful. I'm still trying to get up.
15.
I must have used all my initiative to shout that warning to everyone because I got a 2, so that's a 4 on my initiative.
It's a 14 for me, John.
Okay. Not a problem. Okay. Watum, you will be going first. I believe you were climbing down the wagon.
Right, so I'm going to start moving towards where my two companions are, and I'm going to look around for an enemy, which I don't even know about yet.
Okay, not a problem. As you head down the trail towards horses that they've moved off the road. Looking to your right in the trees, you can see that there's now a distinct rustling as though the foliage is being disturbed, perhaps by someone running through the trees. And you hear this like scream out of the trees.
Okay, well, I'm going to focus on that sound, and as I do so, I'm going to put my hand in a pouch that I keep on my waist, and I will bring out a handful of very, very dark sand, and I will fling it at the trees, and I'm waving it like as a breeze with my other hand, and the sand will kind of carry across to that area where they are. Oops, I'm going to make some dice roll here.
So we've got
Go works like this.
And we've got Audius about there, and you are about there, Ratoon.
You've gone really quiet, John.
Obviously, your elven companion is still in the wagon.
Yeah, we can barely hear you now.
There we go, that should be a
It
bit
did
better.
that thing where you made that noise.
Okay, so 23 hit points worth of whatever they are fall asleep. If it's a fraction, then they just shrug it off. So let's say there was 3 things with 8 hit points each. You would get 2, but not the third.
Okay, not a problem. As you fling this dust into the air, a few moments later, there's this confused sound of growling from behind the trees, followed by a.
Excellent. I'm going to continue to scan and look for other threats.
Okay, looking back towards the wagon train, you can see that the foliage towards the wagon train itself is rustling, as though a large number of these creatures, whatever they are, have been lying in wait behind the tree line. You can hear other rustling sort of up here.
Well, I'm done. I moved and took an action. I'm done. So.
Okay, not a problem. We then go on to the mighty Drax. Drax, you've seen Watoon fling this dust into the air, and then you've heard this confused yelp almost, and this rhythmic snoring sound from amongst the trees nearest to you, just to your right.
What Drax will do, he'll turn to Audius as he's lifting his warhammer and say, "Defend yourself," and he'll charge forward. Now, I don't know if I can do this at the same time, but I wanted to cast one of my cantrips.
Okay.
You can move and cast a cantrip.
Okay.
Yep.
All I want to do, John, is cast light onto my mace.
Okay, not a problem. You mumble a few words under your breath, and a bright light is shed from the mace as you withdraw it. In the bright light sort of emanating from it, you can just about make out through the trees what appear to be 2 small humanoids lying on the ground. You can hear this emanating from them, and there's a third figure stood over them that's gibbering confusedly in this strange language and sort of poking them with its foot.
Drax will make a beeline for the strange-looking creature, muttering gibberish.
Okay, you burst through the tree lines, making a great deal of noise as you head in. As you do, you can see these small figures appear to be these tiny, savage-looking, sharp-toothed, pointy-eared humanoids. 2 of them are lying there, their chests rising and falling as they appear to be deep in sleep. The third one appears slightly larger and has what looks like a rusty, curved sword gripped in one of his hands. Is staring at them with a confused expression on his face, poking them with his gnarled, nailed feet. As you crash through the undergrowth towards him, he lets out a high-pitched snarl and spins around to face you with this rusty sword held in one hand.
Drax will ready his shield and prepare to strike.
Okay, you rush in. Now, obviously, you've cast a cantrip as your action in this round, so you're just sort of rushing in. We then go on to Audius. You've seen your dragonborn companion draw this mace, light emanating from it, and he's basically smashed his way into the trees.
So when I see the light from the mace, it kind of it's like a really intense, annoying thing to kind of adjust to that with the dark vision. But now I'm fine, and I see what Watum did, and it finally clicks what happened. That they're asleep, and there's that one guy there. I'm like, I know you don't, and I'm gonna fire at the guy trying to wake up the other two.
Okay, not a problem. Make your attack roll.
So that is a 12 in the die, so that's a 16.
Okay, your shot hits this cobbled together, rusty sort of armour that looks as though it's been taken from multiple sources, and there's an audible ding as it spangs off one of the shoulder pads that this small humanoid is wearing. It lets out a high-pitched snarl as it's sort of pushed back a little bit. It doesn't seem to have taken any actual damage, though. However, it lifts its rusty sword and swings this curved blade towards yourself, Drax. Drax, what is your AC? You're on mute, Drax.
Oops. I torn an 18 with my shield.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, the creature strikes you with its rusty blade, biting through a weak point in your armor, and it causes you 6 points of damage. As you feel this rusty blade quite dull, as it's almost thrust through a weak point of your armor, and you feel it push through your scaly skin. The creature lets out a high-pitched laugh as it wrenches its sword out, your blood splashing onto the ground. Then we come to Avastar, still in the wagon.
Yeah, so Avastar is going to wait for a little bit, and then when he realizes that the carts are not moving, he's going to take a look outside of the presumably now torn part of the cloth to see where the rest of the sound is coming from. Since he has dark vision, he can see this pretty clearly, hopefully.
Okay, you push one of the arrows out and peer through the hole in the canvas on the wagon. Now, Drax, do you let out any exclamation or noise when you're pierced by this crude weapon?
Oh yeah, I let out a hearty roar. You can see like almost like little flecks of luminous green come out of my lips as well.
Okay, Avastar, as you're peering through the small hole in the canvas of the wagon, you can see this huge figure and this flickering light through the gaps in the trees. Then you hear this, and you see what appears to be like flickering green lights amongst the trees.
Okay, so am I able to see the creatures that have been attacking the Dragonborn?
You can't see them in your current position since there's a lot of trees in the way. Effectively, Drax has just like waded into the middle of the trees, whereas you're still outside of the copse.
In that case, I'm going to jump out from that torn part of the cloth, land in the mud, and he's going to get a bit annoyed that his boots are now muddy and start stomping off towards where the noise is, essentially to shout to the Dragonborn for being so noisy.
Okay, not a problem. You start making your way across. We then come back to Watum.
All right. Well, seeing one of my newly met companions actually get injured, I went from amused to excited to now I'm kind of angry. And so, from my right hip, I pull off a wand. Now, this wand is only a little bit bigger than like a hand barbell. At each end, it has a demon head with horns on it, and I grip it in the middle and I point it towards this creature that is attacking Drax. It flares to life. Oh yeah, 20. That's not a natural.
Okay, and what action are you trying to? What are you trying to cast?
So I'm firing a firebolt at him.
Okay, and you got a 20. This fireball jettisons from the end of your wand through the trees. There's the sound of crackling, burning foliage as this fireball disappears, briefly illuminating the copse. All of you can now clearly see this creature fighting against Drax. this tiny sort of goblinoid creature. As the fireballs moves in to hit it, it throws itself aside at the last moment. It hits a tree behind it. The tree immediately catches fire.
Wait, a 20 was a miss?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, we then come back to Drax. You're on mute, Drax.
Oh, damn, ruined my dramatic entrance. Drax will split a small smile across his massive dragonborn face at the blow. Finally, I didn't think I was going to have any fun today.
Okay, you can see the goblinoid creature has sort of thrown itself onto the ground to avoid the fireball, which means you would have the advantage in this next combat round.
Absolutely. He will raise up his warhammer and strike down. His amber eyes reflected in the kind of dying embers of Watum's fireball explosion.
Okay, make your roll and tell me what you get.
So I can roll 2d20s on this roll, don't I?
Yeah, and you pick the highest.
Yeah. Okay. That'll be a 15 either way, John.
Okay, you bring your weapon down and it clangs into this piecemeal armor that the creature is wearing. You can see that it appears to be almost paying very little attention to you now, even as your blow strikes it. As you can see, its fearful eyes are gazing at this tree which has just burst into flames. It slowly starts trying to scramble to its feet. However, before it has a chance to do anything, we come to Audius.
Alright, and as far as I can tell, there aren't any other threats? I mean, I'm not taking the time to look around carefully, just...
There's no other obvious threats that you can see at the moment.
Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna I'm loading my hand crossbow, and I'm strafing to the left, and I point and aim at the creature. And of course I strafe so I don't have the dragonborn quite in the way. I wait for the most opportune time, and I fire. And that's another 16.
No problem. What is your damage?
Oh, that's 16 hits. Cool. Alright. Dice room's been weird. Okay. I can't see the die on dice stream, so...
One.
Huh. Okay, so I tried to roll 2 dice for my sneak attack as well, but... Alright. So, 1, 5, and hex, so that's 7 points of piercing damage.
Okay.
As I take advantage of the fact that it's mainly engaged with the Dragonborn, and I strike it in a particularly harmful area.
Okay. As this thing's climbing to its feet in front of you, Drax, through the trees as a crossbow bolt hits the thing in the side. It goes "Ah!" and staggers to its left slightly with this crossbow bolt protruding from its midriff.
Alright. Haha, you didn't like that, did you? I say, taunting it. And can I make, like, some sort of charisma check to actually provoke it?
Yeah, go for it. Make a charisma check.
Yeah. 3.
That would be intimidation if you go for provoke.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Then it is a 5.
Your provoking of it doesn't appear to have any undue effect. What it seems to be mainly terrified or concerned with is this huge fireball that's just jettisoned through the forest and set fire to one of the trees. It seems to have lost it.
Wait, just for clarification, that was fire bolt, not fireball, which is just a little ball of fire.
It
Fireball is a much higher power spell. I just want just for clarification.
Yeah, that's absolutely cool. It still had an unnerving effect, shall we say, to put it mildly, on the small goblinoid creature. In fact, as it climbs to its feet, sort of one hand clasping this this bolt sticking out of its midriff, it actually turns around and starts trying to run away from you, Drax, further into the trees. And then
Take
we
that
come to
away.
Drax will not be having that.
Okay, then we come to Avastar.
So Avastar is stumping towards all the noise, basically sort of trying to proclaim, like, what the devil is going on? What is all this racket? What? And then he suddenly looks at the burning bush, as it were, and he sort of goes a bit intrigued because he could see that it wasn't done simply by means of man. He knew that it was some kind of spell. So this greatly intrigues him. But then presumably he can see this this creature now that's moving away.
Yeah, you can see Drax stood there, his lit mace illuminating the scene, and you can see this creature, one arm holding on to this curved, rusted blade, a crossbow bolt protruding from its midriff, dark green blood leaking out of the wound, and it's trying to scramble away from Drax, although it is slowed slightly by its injury. It appears to be giving the burning bush a very wide berth.
Okay. Thinking internally to himself, Avastar's going to say, well, that was quite skillful burning that tree, but now let's see what you think of this. And he simply points his hand at this creature moving away, and he mutters some rather necromantic limericks under his breath. And,
okay.
Let's see. That would be a 13.
Okay, and what were you attempting to cast?
Chill touch.
Okay, not a problem. So, refresh my memory. That's a ranged spell, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. You extend your hand and you feel the air grow cold as you reach out towards this creature. However, it scrambles away, and you're quite surprised by the turn of speed that it puts on, and it seems to evade the effects of your spell as it continues running away. However, we then come round to Watum. You can now see this clearly, Watum, illuminated by the burning tree and the light from Drax's mace.
And he's running away, right?
Yeah, he appears to be sort of half limping, half scuttling into the trees, trying to put as much distance between himself and you guys as possible. His two friends are still asleep.
Okay, so I'm running after him, but I'm looking just beyond him, and I'm going to target like a stick, or maybe a broken branch that's on the ground that's ahead of him, beyond him.
Okay.
And I'm going to cast Mage Hand, and a spectral hand will appear near this stick and rise it up to like ankle level and hold it in position for him to trip over.
Okay, not a problem. I will
Hopefully he's looking back and not forward.
Okay, not a problem. I will make a test for him to see whether he does indeed trip over. I will give him the disadvantage since he's not expecting a floating stick at this point, and as you say, he's not really looking where he's going. Okay. As he's running away, so glancing back over his shoulder, you reach out with this spectral hand, lifting up this sort of reasonably sized branch. There's a as he trips over this branch and goes sprawling face forward. There's a slight squelch as he hits the soft dirt, his sword flying out of his hand. Then we move to Drax. Drax, you watch in wonderment as this branch just lifts itself up into the air, and this goblin just goes head over heels over the top of it. There's a clattering sound as his sword skitters out of his hand, and he lands in the soft mud.
I'm going to unmute myself before I speak. Right. Drax raises his hammer above his head to illuminate the area so people can see this filth as it tries to escape. He raises a pointed clawed finger at it, and he intones some kind of, in Draconic, it's kind of a guttural, deep basso of a voice that anyone who could speak Draconic would notice he's talking about smashing this creature upon the waves of his Lord Njord. And I'm going to cast my cantrip of Sacred Flame, John.
Okay, no problems. Refresh my memory with what that does.
It's a ranged cantrip.
So he makes advantage because the target is prone.
It needs to make a dexterity saving throw or take a 1d8 radiant damage.
Okay, not a problem.
That'll be a disadvantage then because he's prone.
Indeed. Okay, roll for your damage.
Sweet. Do I add anything to that? Being a cantrip?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Nope.
Okay, what was your damage, sorry?
5.
Okay, you see this flare of light strike the creature, and it lets out a high-pitched scream and sort of writhes about a bit on the ground. You can see it sort of holding its hands up over its head now, almost in a sort of reconciliatory gesture.
Drax is not the forgiving kind of a dragonborn.
It's squeaking something in its high-pitched voice. We are effectively now out of combat rounds, as it's sort of lying on the floor, scorch marks, a crossbow bolt protruding from it. It's like...
Alright, I begin to walk towards it. Look, we can tie up the other two, and look at it, there's no need to kill it.
Speaking of the other two, Watum, how long does your sleep spell last?
10 rounds. Or until they're shaken violently awake, or until they take damage.
Okay, not a problem. They're still snoozing peacefully. This other one lying on the floor sort of at Drax's feet is like...
So I will take some rope out from my backpack, and I will wave the wand, and the spectral hand will come and take the rope, and it will bind one, then the other hands behind their back, but they're going to be connected because I'm not breaking the rope in two for these guys.
No problems. You very carefully, so as not to wake them up, bind their hands behind them, linking them together, as you said. Not a problem. Okay, Audius, you've walked over to where Drax is stood over this small goblin wearing this piecemeal sort of metal armor, quite rusted, almost sort of hanging off it. It's still holding its hands up like...
I begin to tie its hands up, and I say to Drax, you said you could heal people? You're a healer? Can you do anything for these wounds? I can help take the crossbow bolts out if necessary.
I can do what I can. I'll do what I can.
Alright. Wait. I am... Yeah, I take out that one crossbow bolt, and sort of bandage it. I'm not being too careful on medicining with it.
Field dressing style.
Yeah. Yeah, and like set him up, and his back turned to Drax, so Drax can do whatever. And do you speak common?
This thing's like, yes, yes.
You run awfully fast for a goblin.
Where did you sneak up on me?
Okay, Drax,
do that.
Are you attempting to heal Audius?
Absolutely.
Me? You mean the goblin, right?
My apologies, I assumed you meant yourself. If you mean the goblin, that's fine. Are you healing the goblin?
He does pause before he heals. This thing did attack us. Audius.
A living creature, and not many can fight through nature.
Avastar kneels down and is quite close to this goblin now and says, "Tell me, little one, where is your master?"
It sort of hisses at you and it goes, "I have no master, elf scum!"
Alright, stop. No, wait. I don't know what information you want to get from this goblin, or who you're seeking that might employ them, but... Look, you killed the horses, didn't you?
Yes, we kill.
The lady, you took a human,
Yes.
didn't you? Is he
Yes,
alive?
what of it? I don't know, I'm not with him.
Where is he?
I sent some of my men with him.
Where?
To our camp. Over there.
Alright.
You notice as he's talking, he occasionally casts a fearful glance at this tree, which is still sort of smouldering away.
I'm going to walk over to him, and I'm going to just point my wand at him.
He's like, ah!
Is there anything we should know about this camp?
Like what? Put that away! Put it away!
I look at it. I shrug, put it on my hip, but still visible.
Like what? What do you want to know?
Guards, dangers.
There are some of my men there.
How many?
Lots of them.
Define lots. Give me a number.
He stares blankly at you.
How many? Give me a number.
He just again stares blankly at you through these beady eyes.
I hold up my hands.
Creature.
More than this many? Or fewer?
Less!
I put my thumb behind my palm. This many?
This repeats over the course of like 30 seconds, and eventually you're able to establish it. According to him, there are 6 of his men in the camp.
Alright. So what's going to happen is we're going to go to that camp and we're going to take that human back. And I'm going to leave you here with this caravan. And if we don't return, they'll just have to kill you. If we do return...
I turned to Ordeus. I have known you 3 days. How are you able to predict the future?
Predict? More like an estimation.
The goblin's been continuing to jabber in its own language, and then it says, all we want is the food.
What food?
Those! And he points at like the bodies of the horses.
Ugh.
Horse meat, huh? Strange race.
Food is food!
This doesn't belong to you.
If we take, it's ours!
Yes. I do not wish to have this discussion, but don't you see how trying to take these horses didn't work out so well for you?
Perhaps you could pay.
He stares blankly at you. What is this? Pay! We do not pay, we take!
I nod.
Hmm.
Yeah, I understand.
I turn to look at Otto and I think trying to explain to him representation of wealth like coins to this goblin would be like explaining a different weather pattern to the sky. I don't think it will have any effect.
What is to be done with
What is this rubbish you talk? The sky is the sky!
Quiet. What is to be done with them?
They are obviously
So
a problem to people here. This cannot continue.
I would kill them, but it would seem our friend here has other ideas.
The two other goblins have now slowly started to like wake up, and they immediately start sort of jabbering as they find their hands are bound together, And they start sort of tussling with the ropes, at which point the one that you're talking to snaps something at them in their own language, and they sort of nod sullenly and...
Alright, so
if it is Matanwe's plan that they die here today, I will not interfere.
I don't see any reason to keep them alive.
They don't know any better. They're not rational. Morality doesn't apply to non-rational beings like these. We are. That's what separates us.
If a lion continues to attack the herd, the lion must be stopped.
There's always a bigger fish, Orius. And today
there's a little shriek from the goblin, and it looks around and goes, "Lion!"
Alright.
This goblin says he doesn't work for anyone.
Alright.
That's right, I am boss!
You're not a very good boss, though, are you?
I tend to look at the elf, and then to Watum, and then to the dragonborn. Look, if I could perhaps convince them to seek another means of food. I don't make that distinction, Jenny.
I know.
If I could convince these people to maybe not attack others.
How can one convince a lion not to eat meat?
You are welcome to try, Half-Orc, but if they attack again, it will be their end.
Alright, into the picture again, alright. You try to take horses, and now you're captured, and you're gonna die. You can see how taking horses is not viable.
It is not our fault. We don't even want to be here.
Interesting. And why are you here?
We are from, and he seems to struggle a bit with the language, and points back down the dirt trail that the wagon's been following. We are from up there, from the high. We are driven out. That is why we come here, and we need food.
What drove you out?
Bigger
The
fish.
short ones.
The what?
The short ones with the big faces.
The gnomes?
What is this gnome? Is it a type of food?
They're short and have big faces.
You can have better conversations with a lion or a hyena.
I shudder when you say hyena. No, you can't.
Choose quickly if we are to rescue this man.
Look, if you release me, I will give you I will give you shinies.
It's not the main concern right now. See, what I want is for that human to be returned.
Look at me, creature. I am shiny. Do you believe that you could bribe me with other shiny things?
He reaches
I kind of look at you like I think you don't understand the concept.
The terrified goblin reaches around inside his armor and he takes out a small sort of roughly hewn Hessian pouch and he tips it out onto the floor in front of him. In it are a collection of what appear to be fish scales, pebbles of various different colours. And he tips them out onto the floor and he says, "Look! There you are! Shinies!"
Ah.
You are correct. It is stupid to explain advanced economics to this creature.
Look, if we get the human back, and you promise to hunt things like deer, and I kind of look around. What is in this place that's other than human civilized race trading caravans?
Well, there's obviously
Birds.
domestic animals in terms of cattle. There are sheep on the highlands. There are, as you say, deer.
Rabbits, boar.
Exactly. Lots of what you'd expect from a sort of temperate climate.
Yes, deer, mountain sheep, and boar.
We hunt here because it is easy. There is this, and he points at the sort of dirt track. Animals go down it all the time.
They belong to people. That would be like if I came into your camp and took something that you had hunted. It would be annoying.
That would not surprise me. You are an orc. That is what orcs do. You stomp in with your big feet, and you take what we have.
There is not to be gained from arguing with a jackal or a hyena.
Drax looks in the direction that the creature pointed in earlier. If we stay here much longer, then those people could already be dead. If you're going to go get them, you might as well do it soon.
That's right. It will not take long for my men to build a fire. And as he says, as he sort of glances at this now smouldering tree and gives a little shudder.
Alright, let's leave them tied up here. I'll talk to the caravan master, see if he'll
I will
wait for
not.
us.
I have but one piece of rope, and I will not give it to them. Instead, I go walking up, and I'm going to take out my dagger and reverse it, and I'm going to, like, butt them both on the back of the head just to knock them out.
There's a tung, tung, as you hit them on the back of the skull, and they slump forwards, unconscious.
I know not how it is where you come from, but where I come from, rope is difficult to make. It is not to be thrown away lightly. Give them your own rope. I gather mine up.
Yeah, I tie the three of them together with the rope and fasten them to a tree. Then I approach the caravan.
Okay. As you're heading back to the caravan, you can see that the old gnome is still sat on the front, puffing away in his pipe, and he's like, What's all that ruckus down there? What's going on?
Goblins had set up an ambush. They're the leader of the trio. Yeah. They're not normally here?
You appear to have some arrows in the back of your caravan that will need repairing.
No. I'll have to pay for someone to do that. No, normally we don't see them this far south. Up in the mountains to the north, maybe, but never this far south.
Yeah, he mentioned something about being chased out by small creatures with large faces.
The old gnome shrugs his well, it's the first I've heard of it.
Okay, then. Well, we learned from this creature where they make camp, so...
You hear a woman's voice from inside the caravan go, Oh, what about my husband? What about Jan?
Yes, we were planning on going there, and I was planning on going there and finding out. Perhaps I can return your husband alive.
Oh, please, sir, please do. He's all I've got.
I look at the caravan master. Would you be okay waiting for us, or would you rather continue and have us catch up, maybe?
Well, I think it's best that if we continue forward at a steady trot, you could easily catch us up, and then we'll at least be making some ground.
And
Yes.
you have others with you to protect you from possible further goblin attacks. I did not see them when these goblins attacked.
Well, we're not really built for combat and such like. I dare say a few of my boys could be roused if the
Yet you are bold enough to ride on ahead without us.
He sort of like creases his eyebrows downwards as though he's considering what you said. He said, you make a good point. Perhaps it's better we wait for you here.
Yes, it is better.
If those creatures cause you trouble, sir, I suggest fire. They don't seem to like it very much.
Well, I'm sure we have some lanterns and such like that we could we could use it. I'm afraid some of my family were rather hitting it a little heavily last night in our last camp. But I'm sure I can rouse the lazy beggars if needs be.
Send off to this man we seek.
Alright. All of you are willing to come with me?
We will put down more hyenas, and we will recover this man for this woman, and her tears will cease, hopefully.
I nod. Alright. Let's get going then. There's no time to waste.
Okay,
It is
how
my
are you
calling to
guys-
those who are adrift at sea.
Okay, how are you guys heading through the forest to the west? Are you moving quietly, or are you just romper stomping through there as quickly as possible?
I think it would make sense if we traveled along the road and then cut in, right? We're going to be, instead of through the woods all the way.
I guess, but we don't know. He didn't say how far it was and seemed bad at articulating that. So, you know, we don't know. Okay, let's go to this part of the road, then travel
east. It can't be
east.
that far, because if they've already taken the guy there, you know what I mean? It can't be too far. And it's not like they have mounts.
I guess. I'd mentioned that I don't think I'd be going silently or taking the time to, because it seems like a time is of the essence type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I say. Well, that's my vote. I say we go along the road and then cut in.
Okay, not a problem. Can I ask you all to make me stealth rolls, please, and let me know what you get?
Okay. 5. I'm rolling multiple.
Yeah. 20.
11.
4.
Okay. Jenny?
Ching, 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 ching.
Okay, yeah. Now, Watum and especially Audius, you are fairly quiet as you move through the trees. Both Drax and Avastar are quite a lot noisy. They tread on several branches. There's lots of snapping and pushing of foliage out the way as you head down the track a little way and cut into the undergrowth. As you continue making your way forward, in the distance you can just about, you've probably been travelling for about 10 minutes. In the distance you can hear what sound like jabbering voices in a similar language to that used by the goblins.
Can I ask a quick question, John? When we were talking to the goblins, had enough time passed for a short rest?
An hour? No, I don't think so.
Okay. Just checking, because I'm nearly dead.
By the way.
Yeah, Drax is looking a little bit worse for wear, and in fact that's probably why he's been quite so noisy. He's sort of stumbling his way through the trees.
Just complaining.
After we've spent all that time traveling, and he's like, looks all like beaten up and stuff, I turn and ask him, didn't you say you could heal things? I'm just saying, might be prudent to apply that on yourself.
Yes, but I need time to tend to my wounds, and these people need our help now.
How long
okay.
did it take us to walk to this point?
About 10 minutes, Watum.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
As you continue moving closer through the trees, you can see the trees thin out into a small clearing. In the middle of the clearing, you see half a dozen of these goblinoid creatures lying. They appear to be building some sort of rough bonfire out of sticks and deadwood they've collected. You can see the beaten up body of a young-looking human lying next to this pyre they're building.
Alright, do we really want to fight all of them?
I would rather we scare them away.
I think I might be able to take advantage of my heritage for that.
I was thinking more about the fire. If we can manipulate it.
Can you cause it to go out of control?
I could certainly fuel it more.
Watoom, can you do something similar? If the two of you
Yes.
did it all.
I can perhaps distract them with
So
sounds.
You're the one
or
who made
vision.
the bunch.
Sounds.
I do not know how that happened. It has never happened before. Yes, I can make sounds from behind or above.
Well, what kind of sounds? Like a rock falling sound or a...
If you wish.
As you're saying this, Drax finally catches up with the two of you, sort of crashing through the trees. The 6 goblins immediately, sort of their heads snap in the direction of where you're standing, just in the tree line, and they immediately pull out to these small, crude-looking swords. And they're like,
crap. Wait, do they see us, or do they're kind of alerted that something's in the area?
yeah, they're just sort of looking in your general direction, sort of glancing around, trying to see what's made this noise. Obviously, you guys know it was Drax sort of smashing through the trees, whereas they're like, "Yeah."
I'm going to quickly gesture, and about 15 feet, say, behind them, they're going to hear sounds of like armor. You know, like if imagine men in plate mail walking or kind of chuffing along, like ching 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 ching, that kind of sound. I'm going to have that sound appear behind them, or at least originate.
Not a problem. Can you please make me an intimidation roll, and I'll give you the advantage for that because of the sounds.
All right. Yeah. I'm just trying to at least distract them away, as opposed to intimidate. So I think I got a 17.
Okay, the sounds of armor moving, plate sliding across plate, suddenly emanate from the opposite side of the clearing. The goblins immediately run round the fire, so they're now facing away from you, and they're sort of pointing their swords, trembling slightly at the opposite side of the clearing. You hear a low from the human figure.
Right, so they kind of turn away?
Indeed, they're now facing away from you towards the opposite side of the clearing.
Right, so I'm just going to turn to the hyenas and see if I can get in without them noticing. And I try to sneak in as fast as I can.
Okay, not a problem. Make me a stealth roll.
20, modified.
Okay, not a problem. You sneak your way into the clearing. Above their shouting and the sound of their swords sort of tapping together as they're sort of shaking and pointing, and the sound of this armor clashing beyond the opposite end of the clearing. They don't hear you creep into the clearing, Audius.
And my goal is to creep towards the guy, use my dagger to cut his bindings and try to take him out of here.
Okay, cutting his bindings is not a problem. It's just like a crude leather thong around his hands. They're behind his back. As you cut him free, you can see he's got a couple of these arrows sticking out of his chest. You cut him free, and he's like... If you want to try and sneak him out, you will have to make another stealth roll to successfully... You will be at a disadvantage because you're carrying this groaning, injured human who's like...
While he's doing that, I'd like to ready an action.
Okay.
And so my action is I have a spell ready to go off. If they turn around and see him, that will be my trigger for my spell to go off, which is going to be a sleep
I'll
spell.
do the same as well.
Okay, not a problem. What spell are you readying, Avastar?
Chill touch again.
Okay, not a problem. Make your stealth roll, please.
19 and a... Okay, I got a 10 total.
Okay. You've just made it to the tree line, dragging this injured person sort of half over your shoulder. As you get to the tree line, he stumbles over a rock, falls down onto one knee, and he goes, "Ah!" At which point the goblins all spin round, hearing this loud groan. And Watoom and Avastar, you've readied your actions, so feel free to...
Right.
Cool.
So I fling a handful of sand, almost black sand, in their direction, and where's the other two?
Dice are acting weird for me as well.
Alright, so I rolled pretty good. 16 and 11. So 27 hit points worth fall asleep.
Okay. Not.
And can you truncate any fractions that the creatures are not affected?
Yep, no problem.
All
As these goblins turn around, snarling, baring their tiny pointed teeth and lifting their sword up, 4 of them just suddenly pitch forward onto their faces, and you hear this.
Okay, so then I'm going to outstretch my hand again towards the one at the front that's obviously not fallen asleep, which will hopefully, if he is terrified, he will turn around and flee and cause the others to. And the necromantic limericks once again come out, and I get an 18 altogether.
Okay, what is the effect of your spell?
I get 1d8 necromantic damage. Or necrotic damage even, sorry. And if they happen to be undead, then they get disadvantage, but obviously goblins are not undead.
No.
7 damage.
Okay. As the 2 remaining are sort of looking between yourself and confusedly at their comrades who've just taken a little nap in the midst of this event, one of them suddenly appeared, like the skin on his face and his hands appears to like shrivel slightly, and he lets out this high-pitched scream and just crumples to the floor, shudders for a bit, and then lies still. The one remaining goblin obviously thinks, "Fuck this," and he literally just turns around and bolts. He starts running towards the opposite side of the clearing, away from you guys, and then he suddenly like hears these noises still going on. He's like, turns to his right and disappears off into the trees as quick as his little goblin legs will carry him.
While this is all going on, Drax turns to Watum and Avastar? Is that how you say it?
Avastar, yeah.
Avastar, and mutters quietly, obviously not too loud, "Impressive work. Although I prefer more direct means."
Feel free. I am still unwilling to spare any rope.
Okay, Audius, you've made it to the tree line with this semi-conscious human now. There are 4 of the goblins asleep, 1 is dead, and the other has fled.
I'm like, yeah, good run. And I take the human to the rest of my companions. Alright, can someone else take this guy?
No problem. Drax will
Are you
take
sure, Dragonborn? You're looking rather weak.
I can manage. I have taken worse.
Okay, you pass the human off to Drax, who staggers a little bit, but sort of stands up straight again, holding this guy over his shoulder.
Alright, let's head back. He looks worse for wear, but someone's going to be happy to see him alive, breathing.
Okay, so are you all making your way back to the caravan?
Yep.
Okay, not a problem.
Alright, so the goblin's still tied to that tree?
Yep. But by the way, what are you guys doing with the 4, if anything, with the 4 sleeping goblins in the clearing?
Nothing. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, well, I made my vote clear, but, you know. Or
Drax considered wading in
Wouldn't do
there
it
and
necessary.
sending them back to their makers, but that would put the lives of his other companions at risk, and creating more chaos than needed.
Okay, so if I'm correct, you guys are leaving those snoozing goblins and you're heading back to the caravan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. 10 minutes later, you emerge out of the trees near to the front wagon. The old gnome Goodbrand is still sat on the front. As he sees you coming out, he's like, "Oh, good. I'm glad to see all of you lot. I was getting a little bit concerned."
When we were walking to the caravan, I made a beeline to go to those goblins that were tied up.
Yeah, they're still tied to the tree. The what appears to be their leader, the one who identified himself as the boss, sort of curses you in his own jabbering native tongue.
With my left hand, I kind of pinch his neck, and I'm like, Alright. I'm gonna let you go. Alright? But
He nods.
if I hear anything, and I like twist the part of his neck a little, if I hear anything of any goblin attacks on anyone on the road, that means out of that tree line, I'm gonna come back and kill all of you. Got it? And then I grab one of his ears and I'm like, if you see, I don't think you do get it. So I'm going to be back to check on you regularly. And then I'm going to undo the blinds to the rest of them. Now that I've established dominance.
You undo the rope. He jabbers something in quite a commanding voice, or at least as commanding as this high-pitched sort of scrabbling sort of shouting can get, and points at the trees, and him and his companions slowly scuttle their way off into the trees.
You cannot change the nature of a hyena, but perhaps you can predict the future.
I hope you do not live to regret your act of kindness.
As you're saying this, you suddenly hear a "oh!" from the wagon train as the elderly woman who's been peering out sort of runs across to Drax, where you're carrying this injured human male, and she's like, "Oh, Jan, what have they done to you?" You see tears streaming down her face.
Can I examine his wounds? See what kind of condition he's in.
Okay, yeah. I won't make you make a medicine roll for that. He's basically very near to being dead.
Could I heal him?
Yeah, sure. If you want to heal him, that's fine.
Do I have to make a roll for that?
So? Are you using a spell?
Just cast a spell.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll use my what's it called? Cure wounds. Yeah.
Okay, make your roll to see how many hit points it gets back.
So how do I do this? I don't think I actually rolled this.
1d8 plus Wismod.
1d8 plus Wismod. Thanks, man. Okay.
You can cast it, well, not yet, but eventually you can cast it level 2, and then you can make it a 2d8 plus Wismod if you want.
Do you say anything, Drax, as you're laying your healing hands on him? Do you call on the power of your gods or anything similar?
Indeed, I do. I put one hand on his shoulder, and with my spare hand that would usually have my warhammer in, I grip my holy symbol, which is like a much larger copper skull, where it has a kind of a starburst kind of scar on it. And as I start to intone these draconic clerical words of wisdom, which talk about taking sanctuary in the lighthouse on a stormy night and that kind of thing, you basically see this light sort of slither from my holy symbol down my arm and from my hand into him, and you can sort of see these like almost like sand just like kind of gnawing away at the wounds and bringing them back together. Tiny filaments.
After a few moments of this, the eyes of the man open. He looks around and he's like, oh, where am I? The woman's like, "Oh, Jan, you're alive! It's a miracle!" And she grabs hold of your arm, Drax, and she's like, "Oh, thank you!"
Please, my lady, he's very wounded.
As I see her thanking like Drax so profusely, I'm just kind of standing back away from everyone, and I just kind of a brief smile appears on my face.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The man slowly starts to come around and he's like, "Oh, where am I? What happened?"
You were taken by goblins.
Oh yes, I remember we were riding to Battlebridge, and then those things, they came out of the trees. The next thing I knew, I felt a pain in my chest, and at this point he looks down at the arrow still protruding from his chest. His eyes widen, and then I don't remember anything until being here.
You're safe now. The goblins will not harm you anymore, or hopefully anyone else in this area.
The gods be praised.
Drax looks slightly unsure when Alistair says that.
Well, certainly not anymore today, unless you also can predict the future.
I am
Seems to be a
merely
lot of that
being
going around.
optimistic for the best, wizard.
Ah,
He looks at you and he says, "Well, you have my thanks. I'm afraid I have little to offer you in to show my thanks. I was travelling to Battlebridge to begin my apprenticeship there.
you may have little to offer us, but you seem to have plenty to offer her. Satisfy yourself with that.
He smiles and he goes over to the woman and he says, "There, my dear. It's all right now. Everything's fine. I am well. What happened to the horses?" And then he sort of looks past her and he sees these two horses lying on the side of the road, and his head lowers a little bit and he says, "Oh, not the horses. They were all we had."
The wagon keep has agreed to give you free passage to the next town.
The old
Speaking
man
of-
sat on the wagon starts to say something, and then he obviously thinks better of it, and he says, "Oh yes, I suppose that's fine. The more the merrier. I
You
expect you to
still
work
have
for your
your
passage."
lunch. I'm going to give him a glower.
He takes a big drag on his pipe and exhales a large cloud of smoke, but otherwise says nothing.
I'm going to make a quick gesture, and the smoke is going to like curl into the face of a demon, and then dissipate.
He's like, "Ugh," and sort of stumbles backwards a bit on the seat at the front of the wagon and looks at his pipe.
I place my hand on the caravan master and say, "Well, we better get going, right? And there wasn't too major a disruption, so you should still be able to make your schedule."
Yes, good. I definitely want to make sure that I'm ensconced somewhere safe before nightfall. Well, you know what they say about Battlebridge.
No.
He says, "Well, it's only a legend, really, but get on board, and once we're going, I'll tell you all about it."
All right. I
Yeah,
turn
I think
around
so.
and I get on. I get into the caravan with him, and I say to him, "Maybe I can't change the nature of such creatures as goblins, but I have to give them a try."
As
think
Drax...
all-
Oh, sorry.
I think all civilized, intelligent races can live together harmoniously. Maybe that's just a fool's dream.
There's a slight spluttering laugh from the old gnome sat in front of the cart as he hears this, and he sort of coughs out a loud kind of smell. Well, that's very progressive of you.
I'm just an idiot. You can go ahead now.
Sorry. I just thought I'd join in. As Drax is climbing back onto the caravan, it's kind of a slight grimace, as he's settling himself down. He overhears what they're saying, and he says across, "There was no harm in trying. It is admirable that you would try and show them a brighter path. But unfortunately, I do not think they have long memories."
The elderly woman is helping her injured other half onto the wagon. He still looks a little bit unsteady on his feet, and she sits him down in the back of the front wagon.
It matters not. All is exactly as it should be. Atodwe has guided us to this place.
Exactly right.
Well, anyway, everyone on board who's coming aboard, schedules to keep and all that.
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
We've already lost much time.
Okay, you climb aboard. He gives a snap of his reins, and slowly the wagon trains begin rumbling across this compacted dirt path heading southwards. As you're travelling, he says, well, now I was going to tell you about Battlebridge, wasn't I? Well, I'm not sure if you've heard, but apparently this is where they say, I don't know how true it is, they say that this is where the final battle was fought against, well, you know, he almost looks as if he doesn't really want to say the word, but he lowers his voice against the GIF.
GIF. Yeah.
Shh, keep your voice down. It doesn't do too well to speak of these things too loudly, young man.
Why?
The gnome is
Why?
right.
Well,
Are they still about? Might they hear? I'd look around.
Well, given the impressive abilities you've displayed, I would expect you to know, young man, that words themselves have a kind of power. Doesn't do to go carelessly throwing them around.
But if you're speaking the words anyway, I do not see that speaking them louder makes much difference.
Well, I suppose it's just an old man's foolish superstitions. But anyway, I was telling you about Battlebridge. Well, they say that apparently the final battle was fought there, and if rumours have it, at midnight every evening, the spirits of those people who died in the battle rise up and walk the area. Everyone in Battlebridge makes sure they're inside before midnight. In fact, they ring a bell in the town to let you know when it's coming up to midnight, so you can make sure you're indoors. All of the shops and the stalls on the bridges, even the old bridge, shut their shutters down.
I kind of
think I would enjoy seeing such a thing.
I lean back. So would I. And is it feasible for me to make an Arcana roll to know if such a thing might be possible?
Yeah, you can make it.
Or, well, I got a 24.
It's certainly possible that people who've died in traumatic experiences can linger on as spirits afterwards, and a giant battle for the sake of their races would certainly seem to qualify.
At that I kind of snort. Well, maybe they shouldn't have built a town on the battlefield then.
Well, yeah, you're probably quite right. To be fair, I've never really understood why they built there. Apparently, it's because they all started trading there. It's equidistant from the villages or some such rubbish. All I know is that there's a lot of trading goes on there, and that's good enough for me. Got to sell my wares there, turn a tidy profit. I like to circle around that way whenever my wagon train and my family come in this direction.
Yeah. So I look at Drax and say, "So you're a priest of some kind?"
Indeed, I am a cleric. The good Lord Njord.
Do you know if the ghosts, if they were real, if they would be dangerous?
I suppose that would depend on their intention. Does Drax know anything about these ghosts, John, from the legends himself?
Do you have any sort of skill that would be applicable for that?
I'm trained in... I'm trained in religion.
I'll say you can make a religion roll. It'll be a fairly difficult roll, though.
Okay.
History is sometimes applicable if it's in somebody's background as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
Okay, tell me what you roll.
Got 4.
Okay, beyond knowing that spirits can linger in this world, as you say, it entirely depends on the circumstances of their death and their intent and how aware they are of their surroundings. It's difficult to say for this specific case because you don't know a great deal about the circumstances.
Unfortunately, I've not been to this place myself. It's possible these ghosts could have a vendetta, especially to one such as myself. A lot of my people fought in the war, although not my clan itself.
When you say they might have a vendetta against you, I kind of eye you like, Really? I have interrogated
They
you.
They must be patient. They are still here a century later.
Do you know anything about them, Watum? Do you think they're
No.
dangerous?
No, that is why I wish to see for myself.
You might be a braver man than me, then. And what about you, Mr. Elf?
Half-elf.
Mr. Half-Elf, you're a arcane user?
My abilities descend from the ancestors of a red dragon. So you could say that.
I do say it. Does that mean you know stuff about ghosts?
I have not crossed any before, if that's what you mean.
Hmm.
I have not really seen much of the world as of yet, hence why I am here.
You hear a shout from the front of the wagon say, well, we're not going to make Battlebridge tonight anyway, so I suggest we circle the wagons a little bit further down the trail, and we make camp for the evening.
All right.
I'm not
Happy to help
bloody
with
well
that.
driving in there in the middle of the night, that's for sure.
I am okay with this.
He
Pick your
shouts-
spot.
He shouts instructions to the people on the wagons behind you, and these 3 wagons are sort of circled as in a rough approximation of a circle. A number of gnomes nursing sort of hangovers and bleary-eyed tumble out of the various wagons and slowly start preparing the rudiments of a campfire, etc. They start getting out saucepans and rations, etc. And pretty soon there's a small fire burning in the middle of these circled wagons. The old man scrambles down quite nimbly from his perch on the lead wagon, and then he says, well, as I said when I picked each of you up, as part of the tradition of hospitality of myself and my family, the Friedling clan, it's traditional for those of us who travel together to share news, to share their stories. And he turns to you, Watum, and he says, now I can tell you're not from around these parts, young man. What's your story?
Indeed, I am from quite far away. The village of Maku. The people lived for generations before we realized there were other survivors after the Gith were gone.
Well, it
Now
must be
I
a very
seek
isolated
answers.
village.
Mostly for this, and I pat the wand at my hip that has the 2 demon heads. My siblings are on similar quests to other parts of the world.
He peers at it and says, well, that's a ghastly looking thing and no mistake.
Siblings.
Yes, 2 sisters and 2 brothers.
Have you not heard of
Each
siblings
has-
before?
Oh, of course I have. I just did not
Okay.
realise that your family were in the area as well, wizard.
Oh no, not in the area. I come many, many hundreds of miles. I've journeyed for 3 months to reach this point. But they are scattered about the world, each with a different wand, but similar. We found them after the Gith left. We know not their purpose. I will find out. Understanding the Gith might be what allows us to prevent them from ever reclaiming the land they have lost.
The old man's peering at it and he says, now I look at it, that thing does look a little bit familiar to me.
Oh,
Yes, I'm sure.
tell me.
He sort of starts back a bit as you sort of sit forward and in quite a forceful voice say, tell me. He said, well, calm down, young man. Yes, I'm sure I saw a young woman with something similar last time I was in Battlebridge, although not quite the same as yours. If I remember correctly, it had some sort of crystal or something on the end instead of those ghastly faces that you've got on yours.
Muted.
Sorry,
Speak up, young man. I can't quite hear you.
I'm sorry. From my backpack, I draw out a book and an ink quill and inkwell and feather pen. Describe this woman to me. Give me all the details you have.
He says, well, she was very tall, red hair. I think she was a member of the local church. She was wearing red and white robes. Had a design on the back, a bit like a tree. Church of Abraham, I think. Although I'm not a religious man myself. You know, I tend to give those people a wide berth. They're always standing on the street corners, sermonizing and talking about their gods and this and that. I've got other things to worry about without worrying about gods and all that sort of thing.
And this wand she had, what do you know of it? You said it had gem ends?
Yes, it was the actual stick bit of it was similar to yours, but instead of those faces, it had like a white crystal at each end. When I last saw her, she was touching it gently to people's foreheads. I didn't ask, like I say, I'm not a religious person. I assumed it was some sort of blessing, and I went about my business.
I shall seek her out. First opportunity.
And how about you, Sir Half-Elf? How do you come to be travelling to Battlebridge?
I am in search for knowledge and a way of finding out what lies within the Dragonstone Tower.
Oh, all right. So you're of and he waves his fingers about, a mystical persuasion, then?
I suppose you could say that.
Yes, well, splendid. Well, and he turns to your half-orc companion. He says, well, I suppose I needn't really ask where you're going. I expect you're heading to Trolltown.
What? No, I have business in the 3Brothers. I don't know what Trolltown is.
Well, I suppose you'd call it it's a little town within Battlebridge. It's a little island in where the three rivers meet. Frightfully dirty place.
Why would I want to go there?
Well, I don't mean to sound offensive, but it's I'm led to believe it's where your sort dwell in the city.
Oh, I'm steering clear of that place then.
Well, yes, it's got a bit of an unsavory reputation.
I'm looking for someone.
Oh, really? Anyone in particular, or?
Someone who sent me a letter. Arrived all the way at Geno's Reach. You know, there, almost halfway across the world.
Oh, Geno's Reach is miles away.
Well, not that far. No, look at Watum, who's probably come from a farther away place.
I'm reading the notes I wrote down in my book. I'm pretty much absorbed in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm gonna look down. My wife, died.
He lays a wizened hand on your arm and he says, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry to hear that, young man. My condolences."
Don't feel sorry yet. The one who killed her is gonna feel sorry. He sent me this letter. Wanted to meet them in the 3Brothers somewhere. I don't know who or what this person is. They know me.
He squeezes your arm in a sort of reconciliatory manner, and he offers his pipe out to you.
I accept it.
You have a chuff on this pipe, and there's a strange sort of odour, almost slightly like sort of cherries and burnt wood.
I really like this pipe then. Alright, but enough of that. It's a little too macabre, but be talking about right now.
He takes a pipe back off you and he gestures with the long end of it towards yourself, Drax. And he says, "What about you, my tall, scaly friend?"
Drax at this point, he's sort of in the middle of, he's rolled up a bit of his armor and he's sort of examining the room while they're talking and listening. He's sort of looking at it with a kind of embarrassed, rueful look. It's like,
just as a rule, you could take a short rest while you're on the wagon and heal yourself with your 1 hit dice without even using a spell.
Mm-hmm.
I could do that during this whole scene, as it were.
Yeah, because effectively
Yep.
you guys are
Short rest is 1 hour when you're not doing anything strenuous.
I'll do that in a second. Then. That's great.
Yeah, you could be walking and do it as well. As long as it's
Yeah,
not
anything
strenuous.
that's not strenuous, as you guys have said. Says that he gestures with the pipes. So you were saying, my large friend.
Ah, yes. I also have travelled far, though perhaps not as far as these gentlemen. I am looking for members of my family. We used to be together a long time ago now, but we've been scattered across the world. I've been sent out in search to try and locate them. Fortunately, pointing at himself, we're kind of hard to miss. So
Yes, I fear you'll get something of a frosty reception in Battlebridge. Like I say, it's the place where the final battle was fought, and many of your kind, well, you know, let's just say that, to be diplomatic, let's just say they were on the wrong side.
some dislike us with good reason. I cannot deny that a lot of my people made mistakes. But this is a different time now. And hopefully new friends gesturing around can be made.
Well, yes, I fear I personally won't be in Battlebridge terribly long. I've just come to offload some of my goods, hopefully for a little bit of a profit, and then I'll be on my way. We travel around an awful lot. We don't really like to stay in one place too long.
Have you seen any dragonborns on the road?
He laughs and splutters as he exhales some smoke when you say, "Have you seen any dragon?" He's like, "No, I think I should jolly well remember that if I had done."
I have heard that there is some in Bitterbridge, but I do not know if they are the ones that I'm looking for.
Well, I'm afraid I can't help you there, my friend. Although if it's any, for what it's worth, I hope you managed to find your people there.
Me too.
You see the old man sort of slowly settling down, and his pipe's sort of been drooping as he's talking as time is passing, and he says, well, I suppose I'm not as young as I used to be. I should be thinking about getting some sleep sooner. Is there anything else you people want to ask me? But before I turn in for the evening, it's the least I can do, given all the help you've been today.
I approach him, and I have a pleasant smile on my face. I hold up my necklace that has a large eyeball in it, which looks around and blinks. And I hold it before him, and I say, "You have been much help today, wagon leader Goodbrand. A blessing upon you." And I swing the eye in front of him so it looks at him and blinks.
His eyes follow it as it swings in front of him, and he sort of reaches up, not touching it, but just to sort of hold his hand near it, and he goes, "Oh, I've not seen anything like that before. Tell me, tell me, young Watum, would you be interested in selling it by any chance?"
No, it is an honor that I carry it.
I mean, no offence. It's simply as a purveyor of charms and good luck tokens, something like that would fetch a decent price on the markets of Battlebridge.
I must decline. It has sentiment. Enjoy your blessing.
Oh, well, thank you. Given how things are with these times, I'll take all the help I can get. Anyway, if there's nothing any of the rest of you want, I'll go to turn in for a bit. A few of my family will keep watch. I think you've all done quite enough for the evening. I'd advise you to get a little bit of sleep yourself, but I'm going to call it a night.
I was going to
really interrupted.
I was going to offer to keep watch, but if you insist, thank
Well,
you.
if you want, young man, if it makes you feel better, feel free. But he says as he's scrambling into the wagon, "Well, I'm going to.
So, yeah, I'll stay up for a few hours just to make sure that everyone's watch is shortened.
Wait, just a sec. Before we
sorry.
separate, I'm going to say to the other three, it would seem we all have something we seek. The pack may accomplish things that a lone animal cannot. I suggest we remain together and aid each other in locating that which we seek.
So what you're saying is we all help each other achieve our own goals here.
Clearly, Matanwe has brought us together for a reason.
I like it.
You should.
The smart sailor doesn't throw away aid in a storm. I would gladly welcome your help.
And what of you, half-elf?
I am not too happy about this. I must prove to my family that what I have is, well, true and worthy of what they think of me. If they find out that others have aided me, then they will simply laugh in my face again.
Surely, though, there is worth in being able to help others and work with others.
Alright.
We'll see.
I understand, but I assume this offer that Watum is proposing isn't a one-time thing or anything, so if your task proves to be too great, it'd be beneficial for you to join this pact.
I suppose given the logistics of things, if I die trying to get the knowledge I seek, then my journey will have been pointless. I will stay with you for now.
As you're all discussing this, you suddenly hear a cheerful "Way!" from behind you as one of the gnomes has like manhandled a small crate off the back of this caravan. He pops the top off it, and you can see there's a number of green bottles inside that he hands out to a couple of his fellows. They pop a cork off the top of it, and the sort of the clearing that you're in, this part of the path, is filled with the raucous sounds of these gnomes laughing and chatting amongst themselves. A couple of them wander over to you with these bottles, and they're like, "Drink?"
No thanks. It clouds the mind.
Drax takes one.
Okay,
We'll
you
have but
take
a
a swig of it.
taste
You take a swig of it.
for the
It's
experience.
effectively a very sort of watered down beer. The gnome looks at Avastar as he refuses to drink, and he's like, "Wow, it's only small beer. Won't do any harm."
I will politely decline, thank you.
Well, it's your lot.
I'm just not in the mood for partaking right now. Perhaps another time, friend.
I will enjoy your little beer for the experience.
He passes it over to you, and as I say, it's a fairly weak, watered down ale.
Yeah, I take a drink, and I don't like it much, but I'm going to finish it to be polite, but I make a mental note to never drink it again.
The gnome takes the bottle back off you, and he sort of like jostles your arm a bit, and he goes, "Good day." He smiles, obviously not picking up on your sarcasm, and he moves over to chat to a couple of his friends. As he passes by Drax, who's sort of still looking at his wounds, he looks over to you and he goes, "Wow, you're looking in a bit of a sorry state, my friend," and he holds the bottle out towards you.
Drax accepts one gladly. Thank you, friend. Yes, it would seem that pride and confidence is not the same thing as being invincible.
Well, you get some of that down you. It'll put hairs on your scales. And after you've had a swig of this watered-down ale, he takes the bottle back off you and he moves on to chatting to some of his fellows. A couple of the gnomes have started singing. One of them is over in the corner. He has like a sort of accordion-style device that he's pumping in and out with a sort of wheezing, groaning sound. The sound of music, the laughter, and the excited talking of these gnomes drifts up into the air as night begins to move apace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is there anything else you guys particularly want to do?
I just want to mention that I'll take a shift of watch. I assume they do go into a formal pattern after they've kind of partied out, and it's basically just to make sure no one has to stay awake for that long.
Yep, no problems. Indeed, after having a bit of food and swilling back some of this small beer, they do eventually get their acts together and they organise themselves into watches, of which you take a part, Audius.
I'm going to put away the notebook that I was writing in, and I'm going to pull out another book, which is a much higher quality book. It's even got some little bit of gold binding to it. It's fairly thick. And I'm going to break that open. I'm going to sit in a sort of yoga style with this book open before my lap and study it for a little while before I go to sleep.
You probably haven't noticed because Apostar is sort of awkwardly standing over the top of you, reading with you, if he can.
So I'll say eventually I notice, and I look up. May I help you?
I was simply curious as to what you were reading.
This is my Ashanti. It is a book which aids me in my arcane talents. You know something of this, yes?
Well, I know that there are people like you who learn magic from books.
Indeed. It was taught to me by my grandmother.
It fascinates me how one can simply do that.
The words hold magic. When said with the right inflection and intonation, and along with the proper gestures and occasional material, one can invoke the magic, releasing it from the elemental plane from which it spawns. Fire from the plane of fire.
Yes, I see. How quaint. Anyway, good night, wizard. I'll see you on the morrow.
So it takes me a minute to get back in my book. Not sure what to make of this half-elf. Curious, but uncertain.
Okay, and eventually, after you've all done your various preparations, your study, etc., you all drift off to sleep. The next morning, you're woken up at the crack of dawn by these gnomes who now appear to be quite industriously getting everything loaded back onto the carts. They're quite noisy with it. You hear the clattering of the saucepans and the creaking of waters. Things are loaded back onto the wagon train.
Morning.
Yeah. Time to get up.
Just as a rule reminder, it's our first session. This is after a long rest. Everybody gets back their hit dice, all their hit points, any spells they'd cast, etc.
Yeah, technically it's half the hit dice rounded up.
Yeah, but at level 1, it's always, that's why I said all, for simplicity.
Yeah, but just making sure for future reference.
Okay, not a problem. The old man Goodbrand is sat on the wagon train as you're all getting up. He appears to have got up quite early himself. He looks back and he says, morning!
Good morning there.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Well, we're just about to get underway. Shouldn't take us more than an hour or so to reach Battlebridge.
Good, then I shall find a nice inn and go back to sleep for a few hours.
You that sleepy, huh?
I am simply one who works with my creativity, and creativity does not rise and fall with the sun, half-orc. Yes.
If you wish, I can help you sleep.
If you intend to do to me that which you did to those goblins, I think that may be a bit drastic.
As you wish.
Okay, and the wagon train rumbles on. For about 2 hours, the scenery is fairly unchanging. Trees moving past you on either side as you follow this dirt track to the south, eventually sort of leaning slightly in an easterly direction. As you continue moving in the distance, you eventually sight what appears to be a large bridge with 3 gatehouses, huge, imposing red brick-roofed buildings built into it. As you see in the distance, the town of Battlebridge.
What does the bridge span?
The bridges are spanning the 3 rivers that join.
Right, so it's a great big river. Like, I'm just trying to get an idea of the size of this bridge, the length of it, the width of it, size of the river.
Okay, yep, no problem. The bridges are about 80 feet wide, and they're over 100 feet long. They are huge bridges. As you get a little bit nearer, you can see that the architecture appears of a strange design. Anyone who wishes to make a history roll, if you have that ability, can do so.
Oh, yeah.
We're approaching from the southeast.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually approaching from the northwest. You're travelling southeast.
13.
Oh, from the northwest. Okay.
That's 19 on history.
Okay. As you're approaching Abastar and Audius, you can see that one of the bridges has a distinct purple sheen to the stonework on top of the gatehouses. It doesn't appear to be built of brick. It almost looks like one solid piece of some sort of strange material that in the morning sun shines this iridescent purple colour. The other bridge that is opposite it appears to be built of a more normal construction, although it's obviously been built to ape this older looking and more magnificent bridge.
So the one on the right is purplish and made out of one thing, the other two are normal?
Yep.
Is that Dragonstone?
The old man on the front of the cart says, yes, I believe so. That's what they call the old bridge. That was built before the battle. I believe the other 2 bridges, the imaginatively named North and South Bridge, were built afterwards. But obviously they didn't really have the construction techniques. But they've tried to make them look similar, I suppose.
I have seen such stone before near my village. The caves in which we found these wands had some of it.
Yes,
Really?
they call it Dragonstone hereabouts.
Did they call it something different where you were, Tim? Where you were?
We call it Mystery Stone. Is there something...
Stone.
I look at Drax. Is there something draconic about that stone to you?
Would Drax recognize that as some kind of dragon? History isn't one of his strong points.
History may not be a strong point, but as you're heading towards it, you do indeed feel a slight sort of tremor, almost a feeling of familiarity, although it's difficult to put your finger on it. You don't really feel anything when you look at the other bridges.
That is most strange. I can say for surety I've never been to this place before, and yet something about that bridge calls to me.
It's a bridge.
I know that, odious friend.
Where
but
else have you seen stone
There are
like that?
clearly
Look at
arcane
it.
properties of it.
Yes. I think I like the term Mystery Stone better than Dragonstone.
But dragons are no mystery.
It's almost as if it's trying to talk to
Okay.
me, but I cannot
Um,
hear it properly. Most odd.
As you're
Yeah,
moving southwards, you start passing small houses and small dwellings built along the two roads that lead up to the bridges. As you're getting nearer to the old bridge, coming from the direction of Bethan, you see what appears to be a fairly large sort of two-story building built of wood and grey stone. As you get nearer, you can see that outside is a wooden sign which appears to have a wheat sheaf and a sword crossed over. It creaks slightly in the breeze as it moves, and you can see underneath it, written in fairly immaculately calligraphied writing, is the phrase "the common sword."
And we're still to the northwest of that double bridge, right? Those two bridges there.
Indeed.
Okay.
is that an inn or a mercenary establishment?
I believe it is some kind of inn, as you call it.
Perhaps we should make arrangements for where we will sleep tonight, and then discuss what we will do today.
Seems most wise. Yeah,
Okay,
hey. And
Just to give you guys
I
an
don't-
idea, you guys are effectively coming in from here.
yeah, so I got the shout out to the caravan leader, the wagon leader. Is that an inn over there?
Goodbrand says, yes, the common sword. I've stopped there a few times, but I don't really have time to stop now personally. I mean, I can slow down a bit and let you people off if you wish.
Is that what we want to do?
There are answers to be found here. Doing what
let's
Goodbrand
get
has told
going.
us.
Let's get going then.
So do you want me to slow down or not? I'm a little confused.
I think that's a yes. Go ahead.
All right, okay. Oh, steady on there, steady on there. And he slows the cart down a little bit.
Alright, Audius
Oh, I'll jump off.
steps off. Yeah, I jump off.
As does Drax.
I slowly disembark from the steps.
I thought you were going to be like, speed up, finally just to them.
Okay, not a problem. It slows down, and you all leap off the wagon train.
Yeah,
You
alright.
can see this two-story wooden building. You can hear the sounds of people talking inside.
I put a hood
Well,
up.
it's certainly.
Yes, it is an eatery by the looks of it.
I'm starving.
Does it look like a place where they might have rooms as well, John?
It's certainly two-story, so you would expect they would probably
Okay.
have rooms to rent.
Well, I'm sure in all the traveling I've been in, I've stopped in places that are similar. So I'm going to seek out what looks like the desk, the greeting area, a servant, anybody who works here, and approach them.
Yeah, I'll do that as well.
You walk in through the wooden door of this tavern. It creaks as you open it. The noise of conversation grows louder as you open the door. You can see that there is basically a large sort of bar area in front of you. At the far end is a wooden bar, various flagons behind it, various barrels underneath it. There's a fairly surly-looking green-skinned gentleman with large tusks polishing a flagon behind the bar as you walk in. There are numerous humans, a few elves, some halflings dotted about.
I
so I'm gonna walk-
nod at the elves, the fact that they are here.
A few of them nod at you as you walk in.
I'm going to approach this half-orc, I'm assuming. I'm going to say to him, while sleeping beneath the stars can have its appeal, sleeping beneath a roof can as well. That is what I wish to experience this evening.
He wrinkles his nose at you and he's like, "What? You looking for a room or something?"
Indeed, I just said so.
How much for your finest room, barman?
He says, "Well, I don't know about finest. A couple of silver should suit you well, though."
And what will I get with this room costing a couple of silvers?
A room, a bed. What are you expecting?
You mean no bath?
We can seek out another place to sleep if you're displeased with this one. Certainly there are many in this town.
It is
He looks at
somewhat
you and he
more
says,
basic than I thought.
"Well, we can give you. We've only got a couple of rooms with baths, but I think they're probably free. It'll cost you another silver, though."
Ha! Another silver. I will take one.
He holds out a gnarled green hand towards you.
Be sure that the water is hot when I wake up, please.
"Oh, yes, sir."
When I put the money out, Watum, you see that I have there's like a flash of a signet ring on his finger to show his nobility.
I note that. I'm going to slide 3 silver coins across to him. I also enjoy a bath.
Right. Well, I'm afraid that's all the. So that's you two for the rooms with a bath. He looks at the other two and says, I'm afraid we're out of rooms with baths. It's just the basics for you two, unless you're sharing."
I'm fine with that.
Good man.
Basic
Good
room.
man. 2 silver.
I pull my hood back a bit because there's just a half orc openly. Soon as bartender here, I'm not too worried anymore.
A simple room will do me fine, thank you.
2 silver.
There you go.
Oh, thank you very much. He leans around the bar and he shouts, "Finnan! Finnan! We've got some customers. Couple of them want the la-di-da rooms, couple for the basic. Finnan!"
That is a rather interesting name you give to them. Are the other rooms named as well?
"Yeah, we call them rooms." "Finnan!" And as he shouts the final time, a young-looking man with distinct pointed ears comes walking down the stairs, and he's like, yes, all right, Nog, I heard you." And he looks around and says, where's these patrons then?" They're just over there." And the young half-elf walks across to the 4 of you, and he says, "Okay, so which of you are for the rooms with the baths?"
I am.
Oh, okay.
I
then,
point myself.
Okay then, sir. So if you'll please, I presume the other 2 of you are for the standard rooms. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, if you just follow me up the stairs, I'll take you all to your rooms. Do you have any horses that need stabling or anything for those mines? I can get Simon to take care of your
No,
animals.
that's fine.
Unfortunately not.
Fine.
It is simply ourselves.
Oh, well, okay.
Perhaps
then,
later.
follow me. If you just follow me then, and he leads you up a small flight of wooden stairs to a long corridor, a balcony, effectively. You can see doors to the left and right, and at the far end of the corridor are 2 slightly more intricately carved wooden doors. You can see that actually there's quite a lot of carvings on the various woodwork on this floor, although the first floor was quite sort of utilitarian and plain. But on the wooden beams here, there's fanciful carvings of leaves and acorns.
Very intricate.
The young half-elf lady says, "Oh yes, my father had someone come in and carve them." He leads you to the doors at the end, and he says, "Well, these are the 2 rooms with the baths." And he ruffles round on his waist where he has a large bunch of keys, takes 2 keys off, hands one to Watum and one to yourself, Avastar, and says, "They're the keys for your rooms." And I guess here we go. And he takes 2 sort of slightly plainer looking keys, hands one each to Drax and Audius. And he says, "That room there, that room there are free. I'm afraid it's just the basics. Straw mattress." What? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry, yeah. wash basin and the like. I'll leave you all to get settled in. If there's anything you need, don't hesitate to shout.
As I reiterated to your barman downstairs, please make sure the water is hot tomorrow morning.
Yes, of course. I'll be round early on to light the fires underneath the baths.
Thank you very much.
If it's not me, I'll send the young lad Simon up to take care of it. If he's not busy with the animals.
It's just sort of busy talking and all that. He simply just doesn't engage that it's not the end of the conversation yet. So Everstar just goes in and shuts the door while he's still talking.
He carries on talking as the door slams. He goes, "Oh yes, sir. Never mind. I'll leave you all to get settled in."
I feel kind of bad that he was just kind of dismissed like that, and so I pull out 2 silver pieces and I thank you for your trouble, and I kind of tip them to him.
He takes them in his hand and looks at them in surprise for a moment, and then says, "Oh, thank you very much, sir. If there's anything you need, just give me a shout. I'll be happy to help out, sir."
That's all right.
I hope you have a pleasant stay at the Common Sword. I'll leave you all to get settled in. He walks off down the corridor and heads down the stairs.
All right.
Ordius, I know you do not have a bath of your own. You can use my bath water after I am done with it.
That's a very gracious offer. Thank you.
Yes, it is.
So, I look at the other two. After we're settled, do you want to meet out there for breakfast and lunch?
Yes. Yeah, it's still like morning, isn't it, John? Because we were only an hour away from this place.
Indeed, it is early morning.
Yeah. So, meet out there in like an hour?
Yeah, I'm just gonna check my backpack and my heavier belongings in there. I'll lock it behind me and then head back downstairs.
Then I'll do the same. I kind of thought people might want to just kind of lay down and be like, yeah, you have a room now.
Okay. You head into your room at the store, and it is a fairly plush-looking room. There's a nice feather mattress in one corner. There's a large bathtub which is set in a stone trough, presumably so the fire can be stoked underneath it without danger of catching fire to the wooden furnishings in the room. There's even a mirror hanging on the wall. There's a wash basin. There's even a vase with some flowers in it on a small table.
I sort of lower my nose towards them in order to get the aromas, and then I open my windows to let the air in.
There's a faint smell of lilacs as you sniff these purple flowers. Then you open the windows and a waft of cold, bracing morning air begins to see.
Maybe a little later, and I close them again.
A few moments later, there's a at your door.
Is there some kind of shutter in the door that I could use to look and see who it is?
There isn't, no.
Okay. In that case, I take a little look through the keyhole before...
You peer through the keyhole and you can see a young human male stood there. He's got slightly frizzy, dishevelled hair. He appears to be picking his nose. And he stood there like...
I slowly open the door. Yes?
Here to warm your bathwater up.
Oh, well, very good, thank you. Very prompt of you. Come in.
As he walks in, you can see he's holding like a Hessian sack over his shoulder. He walks in, he says, well, we don't get many people coming in this early. We get most of the people in the evening. And he moves across to where the stone trough is underneath your bath, and he starts taking sort of small logs out of the sack and placing them in the stone trough underneath the bath.
As he's doing that, I get out a couple of books and decide to add my bag, of course, and I start perusing through one of them.
Okay. A few moments later, you hear the sound of a stone scraping a flint, and after a few minutes, he's kindled a small fire underneath this bath. he turns back towards you and says, "Well, it shouldn't take more than a few minutes for your bathwater to warm up. Do you need me to stay, or can you put the fire out yourself?"
I would certainly appreciate it if I had access to water in order to douse it, but yes, I may do it myself.
Well, there's some water in your basin over there.
Thank you very much.
That's
Here
all right.
is
Be careful. Oh, sorry, sir. What were you saying?
Here's a couple pieces.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. I might suggest you test the water before you get in it. It does get very hot in that.
Thank you very much for letting me know. I'm sure I can handle it.
Oh, well, if there's anything you need, sir, I'll be out with the stables out the back.
Thank you. I'm sure I can come and find you if necessary.
Oh, well, I hope you have a pleasant stay, sir. And he turns around and walks out of the door.
Okay, I shut the door and scene goes blurry as half-elf gets naked, etc.
Okay. Meanwhile, Watum, you're in your fairly luxurious room. Like I said, similar to the room that Avastar has. There's a feather mattress. There's a small sort of desk with a bunch of purple flowers in a vase on there. And there's a mirror hanging on the wall. There's also a tin bathtub sat in a stone trench slightly raised above it. As you're looking around, you hear this from the door.
Enter.
The door opens and a young human with sort of raggedy looking hair, fairly sort of unkempt looking, probably no more than an early sort of teenager, walks into the room. He has a Hessian sack over his shoulder and he says, "Oh, I'm here to warm your bathwater up, sir."
Proceed.
"Oh, thank you, very good, sir." And he heads over to this stone trough and he starts taking out logs from his Hessian sack and putting them in the stone trough underneath the bath. It takes him a few minutes, but he takes out a flint and tinder and eventually gets a small fire going underneath the bath. He says, "Do you want me to stay and put it out for you, sir, or can you put out the fire yourself?"
No. No.
Oh, very good, sir.
Thank you.
There's a big vial down there which has water in it and some water in your basin, sir.
I am familiar with the dousing of fires.
Oh, no, don't be silly, sir. I meant for your bath, sir.
Yes. You may leave.
Well,
thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. If you need anything else, I'll be out the stables out the back. Hope you have a pleasant stay, sir. And he says as he's heading out the door.
We will see.
What was that, sir?
We will see, unless you two can predict the future.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not quite with you.
You said we would have a pleasant stay. You cannot know this yet.
No, but I hope you have a pleasant stay.
As do I.
All right. Okay then, sir. Well, you take care of yourself. And he sort of turns around, scratching his head, and walks out of the door. You hear his footfalls disappearing as he presumably goes about the rest of his business. Meanwhile, Audius and Drax in your room, as I said, they're fairly sparse, straw mattress, sort of wash bowl.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my. We both have separate ones, right? Yeah, all right. So I put my stuff down in my room. Make sure I have like the lightest stuff I need, and I head out, lock the door, and I head back down to the tavern, and I'm gonna take a seat, maybe get waitress to get me like a drink and something small to eat. And because I want to have a big meal when everyone else arrives, the other companions. And right now I'm going to listen in on various conversations around. Not just randomly eavesdropping, but I'm trying to see if anyone gives any sign that they're communicating in thieves' cant. Long shot, but...
Okay, not a problem. You head downstairs, you order yourself a simple drink. You notice that when you get downstairs, the half-orc no longer appears to be behind the bar, and it's the young half-elf boy stood behind the bar. He hands you your drink. He said, "I hope everything's to your satisfaction, sir."
Don't worry about it. Everything is fine. I'm a man of simple taste.
Oh, very good. So only hands you your drink. You see, there's about half a dozen people. It's quite early, so there's only about half a dozen people sat around in the tavern. You listen out for a few minutes, but you don't hear anyone sort of talking in something you'd identify as thieves' cant. Most of them seem to be sort of market holders and sort of stall holders who've just stopped in for a quick drink before they start the day's trading. In fact, as you're sort of listening in, one of them stands up, a man wearing a sort of a long coat, and he says, "Well, best get started then, boys. Them fish ain't going to sell themselves." And he claps his hands together, sort of pats one of his companions on the shoulder, and walks out the door.
Sure not. Not say a lot of people come here for food. And then I just, unless anyone approaches me for whatever reason, hopefully not because of racial discrimination, I'll just kind of wait until the rest of my party arrive, so, for food.
Yeah. Pretty much right after the fireboy left my room, I would have headed downstairs to join Ordeus.
Okay, not a problem. You've been there for a couple of minutes, Ordeus, when Watu comes down the stairs.
I kind of wave at him awkwardly, and I assume just because I'm a half-orc, people probably would avoid the area, so there's like...
You do notice a couple of people cast sidelong glances at you, but they don't do anything overtly hostile.
You need not wave for me to be able to distinguish you from a crowd.
Yeah, good point. Apart from the half-orc thing, I'm also taller than everyone else here. And I'm wearing a bright colour. And I'm the only one here with one eye. Huh.
Yes, indeed, your appearance is unique.
Oh, and my skin's all too pale. Huh. Alright, and I look at my fingers and they have, like, the wooden prosthetics on the tips. Yeah, I'll refrain from waving from now on.
Yes. When taken as a whole, you are something of a mess.
I've been called worse.
Whilst this is going on, what's Drax up to?
Drax went up to his room the same time as everyone else, and when he walked in, he put his pack down on the bed and sort of looked around as if someone not accustomed to sleeping inside a room without an open sky under him. He kind of looks around and kind of bemused for a few minutes, and then he takes a few carvings out of his bag, which are out of coral, and they depict like a man holding a mace above a mermaid, and things like a fish being caught in a net, and he sort of puts them in the wind and stuff as if to try and create some kind of creature comfort. And he sort of makes sure his wound is clean, and he'll make his way down to the common room looking for his new companions.
Okay, you head down and you do indeed see Watum and Ordeus. They're not terribly difficult to pick out amongst the smattering of locals that are in the bar.
When Drax approaches, I look at her and say, "Do you think the half-elf will bother to grace us with his presence?"
I do not know. Perhaps you should wave at him and see what occurs.
I've only just met the man, but I get the feeling that he is someone that enjoys bathing himself. We could be waiting some time.
Yeah, I got that impression as well.
There is no harm in taking pride in one's appearance, but life is for living, I say.
As you're saying that, Drax, the door to the tavern opens, and a fairly fancily dressed woman with black hair sort of slinks or almost sachets her way into the bar. She moves with a languid sort of grace as she glances around the room, smiles slightly, and heads over to the bar. She places a hand on the arm of the young half-elf behind the bar, winks rather flirtatiously at him, and then she says, "Oh, I'm Finn, and I take it everything's ready for this evening's performance. Just be a darling, would you, and make sure that everything's all sorted out. The young half-elf, his cheeks go a little bit red as he sort of pulls his arm away, and he says, "Oh yes, of course, Sophia. Everything's fine, as usual. Your room's ready upstairs. We're all looking forward to hearing you sing this evening." He says he's stammering slightly, his face getting slightly redder as he's talking to her. She says, "Oh, you are a sweetheart. I'm just going to retire to my room, freshen myself up a little. If you'd be a dear and have the boy bring up a small glass of wine, nothing too heavy, I would be forever in your debt." At which point his face is almost bright red, and he's like, yes, of course. I'll have someone bring one up, Sophia." She blows him a kiss and then walks up the stairway. At which point he sort of reaches in his pocket, pulls out a small scrap of like handkerchief, and wipes his brow. Fans himself a little bit with it, and then seems to remember where he is. He's like,
While she was walking around, what was the reaction of like the rest of the people in the building? Was she getting a lot of head turners and stuff?
Yeah, quite a lot of people were sort of looking over in her direction. We even had a few people behind as she's just heading up the stairs. A few of them are like, "Oh, have we got to wait till tonight, Sophia? Come on, give us a little bit of a tune." She's like, "You just have to wait, boys, I'm afraid," and then disappears up the stairs.
So I'm going to turn to Ordeus and I'm going to say, much like the wind, there are some things that are the same everywhere.
You have birds where you're from?
What?
Birds. Entertainers like that.
Entertainers, yes. Like that? No.
Huh.
Okay,
Well,
so jumping back
familiar
to
enough to you, right?
jumping back to Everstar, you finished your cleansing routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I sort of slap a bit of, well, it's kind of like an elvish perfume as such, and I've combed my very long black hair, and I step out into the corridor in order to go downstairs.
Okay. Not a problem. As you step out into the corridor, you see this rather beautiful-looking human woman with this silky black hair, a sort of fur collar, and a long pinkish-purple dress with a sash tied around it. She's just like opening the door to one of the basic rooms. She looks up as you step out of the room and says, "Oh, good morning."
Good morning to you, my lady. Forgive me for asking, but this isn't your room, is it?
Well, it's not where I stay, but I need a little space to prepare myself for the evening's performance. A little bit of peace and tranquility before the main event, so to speak.
Performance?
Oh, why, yes, sir. I owe a few small favours to the man who owns this fine establishment, and as part of my payment to him, he's asked me to sing in his bar in the evenings. I must say I rather enjoy it. It's nice to get a little bit of attention, even if it is from the more common folk, shall we say. But after all, they can't help it.
Well, perhaps I will hear you as well tonight. I'm not sure how long we're staying.
She smiles slightly, looking you up and down, and then says, "Well, we don't often get many noble patrons in the common sword."
Indeed not, and he reaches down and takes her hand and kisses it.
She smiles and accepts the kiss on the hand, and then says, "Well, I can see you're going to be trouble."
Unfortunately not, my lady. I do not really engage in that kind of thing. But I will enjoy your music should you perform it.
She smiles and says, "I assume you're one of Bria's relations?"
I am from House Tholage.
Oh, really? We don't get many of your house coming through here. My apologies if I misspoke. I simply assumed, given your obvious elven heritage, that you were related to the owner of this fine establishment. I quite apologise. I meant no offence by it.
No offence taken.
Well then, if you'll be a dear and let me begin my preparations for the evening, I trust I'll see you later.
I'm assuming that you will. Time permitting, I will leave you to your business, my lady.
She leans in, gives you a peck on the cheek, laughs quite musically, and then turns around and wafts through this door, the door shutting behind her.
When she shuts the door, Avastar gets that little cloth and quite vigorously wipes where she kissed him and puts it away and marches down the stairs.
Okay, not a problem. You head downstairs where, as I said earlier, it's not terribly difficult to spot your companions sat around a table.
So they give me a wave.
Well, I don't.
As I say to Ordeus, the half-elf approaches. Perhaps frantically flapping her arm around will help her to notice us.
When I get down, I head to the bar first and I order a glass of water. And then I go and sit down.
I think he noticed me.
The young half-elf behind the bar, Avastar, he looks at you sort of a bit curiously when you say, I'll have a glass of water, and he says, water?
Yes, as in the hydrating liquid that we use to keep ourselves alive.
His brow furrows a little bit, and he says, "Oh yes, sir. I didn't mean anything by it. I'm quite acquainted with what water is. You notice he's got a sort of rosy hue about his face that's slowly sort of fading away. He looks a little bit flustered, and he says, "Oh yes, of course. It's sorry. It's just we don't often get asked for water at the bar." And he rummages around under the bar, brings up a metal jug, and pours you out a flagon of water. There you are, sir.
Would you mind bringing it to the table, please?
Oh, no, of course, sir. You go and sit yourself down. I'll bring it straight over.
Thank you. And he also looks a little puzzled by the fact that he just puts it on the bar and then he goes and sits down.
After you've been sat down for a few moments, this slightly flustered-looking young half-elf walks over to the table, puts the jug down in the centre of the table and the flagon in front of yourself, Avastar, nods, and he heads back to the bar.
Thank you. Strange.
As I said before, it would seem that we all seek something.
Mm-hmm.
All that is to be decided now is where our next step leads us.
You're looking at Drax. You're looking for your family. Look at Half-Elf. You're looking for knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the writer of this letter in return. You're seeking answers about the wand?
Yes, because knowing of the wand can teach us of the gift, and knowing of the gift can prevent the return. But I have been given a lifetime to complete my search. If someone else's needs are more pressing, I am patient.
Well, it doesn't seem anyone's in dire straits just yet. Never their concerns.
All roads lead to some kind of knowledge, I would say.
As you're discussing this, you hear what sounds like a voice shouting outside the front of the tavern.
Is saying...
You're still going, "Get away from it!
Really, at this time in the morning?
Is my hearing off, or was that complete nonsense being shouted?
Perhaps it is common in this town?
Probably
At
someone's
this time?
stealing a chicken or something.
It would seem for a change it's not directed at myself or you, Odious.
Why would you assume it is a chicken theft in progress?
Well, then perhaps a pig. or some other form of livestock.
A possibility.
I suppose. Does the shouting continue? Does it get like frantic, or does it just seem like it could be a drunk guy rambling?
It just seems like someone shouting and then there's quiet. You can still hear sort of dull sort of hubbub of people like talking and the sound of carts rattling by outside, but there's no further shouting.
Alright. In any event, it's nothing serious. So, I'm looking for the killer of my wife, the murderer who wrote this letter, but I have no idea where to start, so maybe my thing isn't the best one to start with. Maybe connections need to be made in this area before I can make some headway.
If you wish. Goodbrand spoke of a red-haired woman who attended the Church of Abraham, and she has a wand like mine, but not like mine.
The door to the tavern opens, and a very distinguished-looking gentleman with long, braided blonde hair and the large, pointed ears of an elf, quite a serene expression on his face, walks into the building. He looks over towards the bar, and he says, "Finnan, my boy, can you get Simon to take a sponge and some water outside the front of the building? Those miscreants have been scrawling on the front of buildings again. It looks like the guards have chased them off for now, but it won't do to have any of that rubbish written on the front of our establishment. If you can send the boy to go and clean it off, that'd be much appreciated." Oh yeah, yes, of course, Father. I'll head out to the stables and get him right on it. Very good. Thank you, Finnan. The elf stops as you say miscreants, and he says, "Yes, unfortunately, we've had a plague of people writing on the outside of buildings, scrawling on them in chalk. It's been quite distressing for a number of the traders."
What have they been writing?
Oh, yes. It doesn't make a great deal of sense, to be honest. I mean, to be fair, I've not even got a clue who Cortis is. It means nothing to me.
Cortis?
Yes, that's what I said. I'm glad to see your hearing is functioning fully.
Written in common? K-O-R-T-I-S?
Yes, that is how the word is spelt. I'm pleased to see that your grammar is also of an admirable standard.
I know of this Cortis.
Well, it's no matter. The guard have chased off the miscreant, and we'll soon have it cleaned off the front.
I'm not sure if it's that easy. I stand up. Cortis is a vicious bandit.
A bandit in Battlebridge? I hardly think so.
Cortis the manslayer.
I say to the elf in Elvish, please excuse my companion. He has travelled a long way with us, and he is obviously quite agitated and hungry.
In Elven, he responds and says, "Dear sir, I'm quite well acquainted with the foibles of his race. I employ one of them to run my bar for me."
This is your establishment, then?
Yes, sir. I am Brius Conmac, at your service, and he bows slightly.
Avastar Tholech. The same.
I'm kind of just staring back and forth between their exchange.
I lean in and I whisper to Ordius. They're stating names and insulting your race.
As you sort of whisper that,
Can't blame them.
The blonde elf turns towards you, Watuman, in Elvish says, "Oh, you speak my mother tongue. That is quite surprising."
I have not met your mother.
At this point, he actually laughs in this sort of lilting musical fashion and says, "Very droll, sir, very droll."
Drax is sort of looking between everyone. Like,
I laughed,
I'm
even though I don't
confused.
understand. Even though I don't understand the language, I know what Watoon probably did, and like take him too literally. So I just laugh.
The elf now in common says, "Oh, please forgive me. Where are my manners?" It doesn't do to speak in a parlance that not everyone can understand. I am Breus Conmac, the owner of this establishment.
Odious
I am
Morlin.
Watum.
Drax, and thank you for the hospitality of your hall.
Now, if I be so bold, writing the name of a vicious bandit on your buildings. Yeah, that sounds like a problem. Fearmongering and all that, right?
Well, I wish I could say that it were only my building, sir. The phrase "Cortis lives" has been written on many buildings recently. There's been no real malice behind it or anything, though. It's just simple graffiti. It's a nuisance rather than any menace of any particular kind. It's soon cleaned off. It's written chalk after all.
Well,
2
if you
words.
want-
It would seem there would be more efficient ways of delivering such a message.
strange.
Entirely-
Maybe they don't want
entirely
anyone
agree.
specific to know about it. Do you want me to try have a talk with these kids who are doing it?
Well, I believe the person who's doing the writing has been chased off by the guard, but you're welcome to speak to them if that is your wish. My interest in the matter extends solely beyond removing the blemish from the exterior of my establishment.
Well, I like to help people any way I can. I can convince them to stop graffiti in your building.
That's admirable, very very admirable. You notice as he's talking, he keeps sort of casting a sidelong glance at Drax whilst he's talking.
I kind of look at Drax and look back at this elf's expression. Make an insight roll to see if he's like curious or like maybe angry.
Yeah, go ahead.
6.
He doesn't seem angry. It's difficult to tell his expressions. Like I say, he's got this serene-looking expression on his face, but he doesn't actually appear to be showing any anger or fear.
Do you want to talk to Drax?
Oh, apologies, forgive any rudeness on my behalf. I was simply thinking that I'd not seen any of his kind for a very long time.
You have not seen any of my kind through this town recently, or over the last few months?
No, I've not seen any of your kind since the war.
That is sad news.
But as I am often fond of saying, all people who do not bring violence into my establishment are welcome in the common sword. That's why I called it the common sword. As all of the free peoples fought together for a common cause, I like to think of this little establishment of mine as a place where those prejudices, those old grudges can be left outside the door. Everyone can come in, enjoy themselves, relax in safety, and as long as no one causes any trouble in here, I do not care if you're an orc, you are born of dragons, whatever your race. After all, apologies, my friend. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to say I wish there were more people like you around. Make life a lot easier.
Well, when you have lived as long as my race lives, eventually all friends become enemies and enemies become friends. There is little point in placing your opinion of someone based entirely on their race. I prefer to judge people by their actions and not by what they look like. After all, didn't all the free people fight together in a common cause? I believe even some of your kind, my scaled friend, fought on the side of right. And after all of that was a long time ago. What is the point of holding on to grudges for that length of time? All it does is make you bitter and twisted up inside.
You almost sound like you were there.
He smiles.
Do you know how old they live?
No, but something in his eyes. He wasn't talking. He wasn't talking about stories. He was talking about experience.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
And I'm
you
saying
know
that
how old they
they're
live?
No.
I'm saying that they're well known for being able to live for look at what is it, like centuries. Wouldn't surprise me if he was there.
He
Are you
smiles at
predicting
me
the
before.
future again?
I didn't say that he would. I didn't say anything about the future. I just said that they're known for it. So they have in the past.
Brios smiles and he says, in your terms, I would be 300 of your years old. Let's just say that I look very good for my age.
Wish I looked like that when I'm 300.
I
You look
wasn't
very
aware
good
that
for your age. What would someone even younger look like?
Well, rather like him, and he points at Avastar.
Drax does some kind of mental calculations.
Hmm.
By my reckoning, if the stories are true, you would be older than my entire race.
Well, if you believe the stories, that is the case. I cannot say, since I was not present at the birth of your race. Of course, I've heard the stories.
Neither was I.
But, well, no, obviously.
Feeling we're getting a little. Audio's kind of backtracks the conversation in his mind. What are I talking about? Right, Cordis, Manslayer, Vicious Bandit. I think writing his name on people's places is a thinly veiled threat of some kind. Think you might want someone to investigate such a thing.
Well, I would say it's a very thinly veiled threat, if a threat at all. If you wish to investigate, you're perhaps better off talking to the damn guard. I have no stake or no particular interest in that beyond the defacement of the exterior of my establishment. But I can see I've kept you all talking too long. It's nice to meet new and interesting people in Battlebridge. Most of the people hereabouts are traders or professionals of various manners. They have little of interest to say besides the price of carpentry, how much they've sold their weapons for, how much they're selling their fish for. You know, the normal sort of traders talk, which, whilst it can be interesting for a few years, it does get a trifle repetitive after a while, if I'm honest. But I'll leave you all to your musings and your investigations. I hope you have a pleasant stay, gentlemen.
If you wish, if the words still remain, I can remove them from the side of this building.
Well, I believe my son has gone to get the boy from the stables, Simon. He'll soon have it cleared off. It'll take nothing more than a rag and some water, I expect. But and he leans in and says, "I'm afraid he's a trifle slower. I found him abandoned as a small child and gave him a job here. I don't give him anything difficult to do. He simply harnesses up the other horses in the stables and occasionally does the odd job here and there, heating the bath water, etc. But I'm sure he's probably still out the front dealing with it now. Like I say, he's not the quickest person in the world when it comes to tasks, but he gets there eventually, and he has a good heart. What more can you ask of people?"
I nodded him.
He smiles, nods, turns around, and heads over to the bar where he begins sort of talking to the half-elf behind the bar.
Gordius, where's this Cortus person? Clearly new.
Yes. Sorry about that. My travels. And I came across an injured man on the road. I went to give him my aid, and it turned out to be a bandit named Cortus the Manslayer. I was lucky. He was better than I was, but I managed to defeat him. A passerby told me of his reputation, so I realized that he might have been worth something to the town guard, you know? I went to handed his body for reward money, but that I ran into another person there, an elf, and she also had the head of this tortoise. Two identical heads, and we were both claiming the same reward money.
How is this possible?
Magic, I assume. Or he has a very large family of twins. I'm going to assume magic. It's always magic. But in any event, we split the reward, and when I was living in Geno's Reach, occasionally I would hear some rumors, and I heard something about Cortis still being active in the area.
2 heads removed, yet Cortis lives.
Strange that he would be all the way over here as well.
I suspect there are many such odd stories within you.
Yeah. It's been a rough time. I've had a rough time traveling from here to Geno's Reach. From Geno's Reach.
No, it is fine. 1 weird story per day is enough.
A loud voice, gruff voice from outside shouts, "Oh, you stupid idiot! You've knocked the bucket over. Go and refill it again." Oh,
well, if there's one thing I like, it's a good mystery. Brian, my spirits. I'm very interested in investigating this. What say you, Free?
It does sound interesting. And you have a star. You seek knowledge. Is this a kind of knowledge that interests you?
I do not have a fully pinpointed plan as of yet, but this could lead me to the knowledge I seek. I simply wish to prove myself, as I said. If I can do something that will allow me to prove myself, then I will do it.
I am somewhat at a loss at the moment, if no rumours of my clansmen are around. So I see no harm in aiding you. Perhaps it will lead to some good fortune and some news.
Indeed. 1 sheep is lost, and the other 3 know where they are. That sheep may join with them, and none will be lost.
He's right. We should go to the town guard and ask them about any news on Cortis.
Then we are agreed.
Yes. I have supped recently enough that I am ready to proceed.
Me too.
I think you're muted, John.
As you head out of the establishment, you see the gruff-looking orc who was previously behind the bar. There's a knocked-over pail of water in front of him, and you can see the tousle-haired, ragged young boy. And he's like, "Oh yeah, look, sorry, I didn't mean to. It was an accident. I'll go and fill the bucket up again, and I'll clean it off straight away." He's like, "Yeah, you see that you do. I don't know why he keeps you around, to be honest. You're always knocking stuff over, causing trouble." He's like, "Oh, I didn't mean it. It was an accident. I'll go and fill it up now." And he grabs this bucket and he sort of scuttles off around the side of the building. The orc sort of goes, "Oh."
Good help, huh?
Well, I don't know about good and I don't know about help.
Maybe don't be too hard on the boy. I mean, probably not going to improve, and don't want to make him feel too bad about himself. In my experience, either get better or he won't.
Yeah, bloody British. He's got a soft heart for the sob story. Took the young lad in when he was just like, however small humans are when they're little.
Yeah, man's skill, right?
Yeah. To be honest, he taps his head with a gnarled finger. I don't reckon he's all right, to be honest.
Well, we have problems of our own to solve, and he is yours. Good day.
I shrug, like, yeah, he's got a point.
He nods and goes, "Oh well, don't let me keep you."
Yeah, wait, do you know where the town guard are?
Oh
If they have
yeah,
an
yeah.
office or whatever.
Yeah, you see the central tower down there on the old bridge, the one with
Yeah,
all the weird shapes jutting out the side of it and a purple roof.
yeah,
That's the main guardhouse. That's where you'll find him.
yeah.
Says you want to be a bit
Thanks.
careful with the captain, though. He's a bit up himself. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. Unfortunately.
Wow, humans, what you gonna do, eh?
Yeah. All right. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. All right, it's this way.
Okay.
All right, so I walk with you.
Okay, not a problem. You make your way towards the old bridge. As I say, it's this vast expanse of cobbles heading over this large, wide river. As you get to it, you can see these huge towers with these purple, almost crystalline-looking roofs on top of them. The many facets shining in the daylight. As you walk across them, you can also see sort of weird sort of architectural shapes that seem to have sort of triangles and odd sort of geometric shapes jutting out of the side of them that seem to have no architectural purpose whatsoever.
I want to approach this dragonstone, and I'm going to just kind of put my wand up against it to compare the color of the stone versus the color of the material the wand is made of.
Okay, not a problem. You put your wand against it to compare it, and they are similar colours, although yours is a lot darker. If yours was like an amethyst, this would be a sort of a lilac colour.
I will note that and write it in my book later.
Okay, again, Drax, as you're sort of heading towards this bridge, you get this same sort of feeling of familiarity as you head across. It's almost like you'd slipped into a pair of comfortable shoes or a nice fitting coat. It's difficult for you to describe, but just looking at these stones, you feel a sense of rightness about them.
Like a kind of belonging, almost.
Indeed, yeah.
Never felt anything quite like it.
Okay, as you head across this bridge, you can see market stalls lining either side of this huge expansive bridge. It looks as though there's an entire market just on this one bridge. There's traders shouting across at each other. Well, you notice the market stalls here appear to be extremely well sort of furnished. They look very almost expensive as you're heading across this old bridge. There's traders shouting to each other, bringing their wares out. There's carts, small hand carts moving up and down the bridge. People selling their wares from the back of them.
Mm-hmm. Do I see anyone selling trinkets or anything?
You do indeed see a small halfling woman. She's stood by one side as you head across the bridge. You can hear her shouting, "Lucky charms, charms against ill fortune, protect you from ill weather. Get 'em here, going fast. Good cure what ails you."
I approach her. Yeah, sure, I'll take one.
She's like, "Oh, thank you very much, sir. That'll be 1 copper." She hands you what appears to be like a piece of leather thong with a number of seashells and small stones with holes in the middle threaded onto it.
I pass her a copper piece.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
"Not at all, sir, not at all." And as soon as you've left, she turns around and carries on. "Lucky charms, protect you from ill weather, cure what ails you. Got a bad case of the chilblains, this'll see you right. Rub it on your wounds, it'll make them heal faster, stop infection." And she carries on shouting in that vein.
I put it in the front pocket of my coat. Do all halflings sell everything with trinkets?
I would not know.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know halflings.
Probably so. Yeah. Suppose I had a friend at Juno's Reach who taught me how to make things like this. Nice little halfling. Very old.
Heading across the bridge, you can see at regular intervals on the bridge are stood people wearing metal plate armour on their upper torso. They have metal helmets on with red feathers coming out of them and blue and yellow striped clothes on underneath the armour.
Someone else better do the talking now.
You see they're all holding spears.
Are they blocking your path?
No, they just stood along the sides, sort of keeping a lookout on the market holders.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, no problems. They just appear to be stationed at regular intervals, presumably as security maybe, or something along those lines. They're all stood stock straight, all of them holding spears.
Are they wearing any kind of symbol denoting, who they're following or who their order is or king is or order is or whatever?
Okay, you can see that each of them is wearing a sash that is split into a red and a light purple. As you get closer to one of them, you can see that on the sash is embroidered a tower on one side and what appears to be some sort of wading bird on the other.
Yeah, that means nothing to me, but I note it.
I also note it.
As you're heading across the bridge, below the sound of the shouting of the traders and the general hubbub of people buying and selling things, you can hear this weird sort of almost like honking sound coming from sort of somewhere down below the bridge, like a
Must be swans.
Geese?
Or any other waterfowl.
I'm going to keep trekking across the bridge and head towards this prison guard place.
Okay, not a problem. You head to this central tower, as I described. It's this huge, strange sort of geometric tower with this purple crystalline roof on the top of it. At the doorway, which is a large wooden door, you can see two of these guard, one stood on either side, holding these spears.
You wish to question them, Ordeus?
Go ahead.
Well, wait, they're the guards of the building, right?
They were just stationed outside the door.
Mm-hmm.
How can you tell them apart?
Sure. All right. Hey, we want to ask some questions about the graffiti that have been appearing in town. Think we might be able to help out with that and have some information. Can we pass?
One of them looks at you curious and he says, well, we've got the person who's been doing the recent scrawling. They keep popping up from all over the place. These kids just scrawling on people's shops, writing on the side of buildings, even on the side of the bridge.
That's horrible. Well, do you know that Cortus is a dangerous criminal? Well known in miles from here, though.
I've never heard of him. I've never heard of him before. Have you, Aldous? The other one's like, no, it don't mean anything to me.
Wouldn't surprise me. I heard of him all the way in Juno's Reach.
Anyway,
if there are
you want
three Cortuses, is it certain that all are criminals?
Possibly, but do you think it's a coincidence that it's the same name? I suppose I might be seeing connections where there aren't any, but
There are no coincidences.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, we've got one of the little blighters inside now. We're just about to question it. Bloody kids.
If you're about to question him, could you perhaps question him on Porthos himself, or this might be a bit unorthodox, but if one of us could help with the interrogation, the questioning.
He may be more
We're not
willing to
meant-
speak to my friend than to a guard.
That is very true, and children are smarter than you think.
Well, he's got a point there, Perseus. He has got a bit of a look about him. Well, yeah, I know, Aldous, but we can't really just be letting people into like the main guardhouse without an appointment or permission. Tell
Look
them
at
about
his
our
face.
story.
Who could not look at that face and not be intimidated, especially a child?
All right, sir. No need to get worked up. All I'm saying is, look, we're under strict orders from Talamon not to let anyone in unless they've got an appointment.
Can we make arrangements to meet him, or arrangements to gain permission?
Well, yeah, I could have a word in. Who shall I say is asking for him?
Audius Morlan. Please, we don't want to make a fuss or anything, or upset the apple cart.
He has information related to this.
Hey, Perseus, we can't let him into the guardhouse, but there's no reason why we couldn't bring the little bleeder out here. Well, I suppose we could do, Aldous, but you know, I mean, we don't know these people from anybody. They could be anybody. We can't just be like bringing suspects out to talk to any old people.
Says I can assure you that these people are in the good company of myself. I'm from House Tholedge. I'm not simply some vagabond or mere man passing by.
He sort of looks a bit
confirm
curious.
this.
What's, if you don't mind me asking, sir, what's a member of House Foliage doing in here? Doing in Battlebridge?
I don't really see it's any of your business.
Well, it's my business if you want to go into this tower.
I'm simply here on my own terms. I'm staying here a little while I explore the valley.
The other one nudges him and says, "You should have known better, Perseus. You never get a straight answer from an elf, do you?" He's like, "Wow, that's true, Aldous."
If you wish to question me further, perhaps do so at another time. It is my friend the half-orc that needs to be the priority here.
He's like, well, I suppose if you were to give us some sort of
Oh, I see.
insurance that the suspect wouldn't be harmed, then we could perhaps see fit to bringing him out. He says,
I'll give you that for now, and maybe I'll give you something better later.
Okay, how much do you give him?
I give him, let's say, a silver piece.
Okay, he takes the silver piece, puts it in his mouth, and he's like, disappears it into his vestments, and then says, "All right, Aldous, you go inside, get the little breeder, bring him outside. We can only give you a few minutes, mind. We've got like, official business to be dealing with, but we can bring him out for a few minutes. That's the best we can do, I'm afraid." And the other one sort of grumbles a bit, heads inside, and eventually comes out dragging this sort of writhing young lad, human, about 12 years old, sort of struggling as he's pulled out of the scruff of his neck. He's like, "Oh, I didn't do any real harm. Look, I didn't do anything really bad." He's like, "Well, we'll be the judge of that, sonny. Anyway, these people want to talk to you." He's like, "Couple of minutes, mind."
I look down at the head. All right, tell me about Quartus.
He looks over it as you say that, and he's like, "Oh, what do you want to know?"
Do you know him?
No.
How do you know the name then?
Well, he sort of looks and he goes, "No, you wouldn't believe me. They didn't believe me." The guy goes, "Hey, less of your tall tales. Just tell them what they want to know."
Yet another person who can predict the future.
He says, "Oh, well,
Try
I
me.
don't know about predicting the future, but well, I saw the name in a dream I had, and when I woke up, I just felt that I like needed to like get it out and like write it somewhere. So I just found like a little bit of chalk and I just wrote it on the nearest building I was going past. Just like a tavern, it was only like chalk, nothing. I didn't harm nobody.
Alright, I'm gonna come up and down and I'm gonna roll insight. I don't know this kid very well though, so I'm looking for more general. If it looks like someone that I know has bullshitted me before, basically.
Okay, not a problem. Make your insight roll. Tell me what you get.
That is a 16. No, sorry, 15.
Okay. The child looks as though he's being honest. He looks really scared. No doubt the fact he thinks he's in trouble.
What kind of dream did you have?
He says, well, I was just I just laid down for the night and I had this dream where I saw this big figure, like all covered in armour, like I couldn't even see his face or anything, and it was like walking over this hill like towards me, really. It was so real, like, I could hear the sound the armour were making, and as it moved towards me, I just heard this voice saying, "Cortis lives." And then when I woke up, I just felt like I had to get the words out of me somehow. So like I said, I just wrote them on the first building I came to. I was sleeping in an alleyway near the near this building, so I just like got a piece of chalk and I felt much better after I wrote it.
That seems weird.
I'd like to do an Arcana check to see if I can get a sense of maybe residue magic upon him.
Okay, yeah, make an Arcana
Yeah, I was
check.
going to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking along similar lines.
I was going to set magic, but then I thought that might
I
be
said it first.
pointless.
I didn't make
Okay,
it.
tell me what
Anyway.
you get, guys.
That is a 9.
I didn't. I rolled less.
Okay, neither of you are sensing any residual magic about the young child.
Makes sense.
Doesn't mean it's not possible.
He sort of like looks at you audience, and he's like, will you? And he jerks his finger in the direction of the guard who's still holding him by the scruff of the neck. You'll tell him, won't you, sir? I didn't do no harm. I haven't hurt nobody or no nothing.
I look to the guards and say, look, I think this kid might be telling the truth.
Well, with the greatest of respect, sir, that's not up for you to decide. This is an official city matter.
That's fine, I just thought I'd mention it to you.
I say to the guard, you have arrested others before for this crime?
Yeah, that's right. They've all given us the same old sob story. Oh, I heard it in a dream and I had to write it.
Were they all young,
rubbish.
about this boy's age?
Yeah, some of them were a bit younger, some of them were a little bit older, but about his age, yeah. They all came from different backgrounds. We haven't been able to come up with anything to link them together. Some of them were from like reasonably well-off families. Others were like street trash, like this lad here.
So they are completely unrelated, and yet you suspect that they all did this intentionally, willfully, for no reason that they can provide, other than the one they gave you.
It's not my job to speculate on their motives, sir. All I know is they were caught in the act. They were caught in the act, sir, so we know that they did it. Most of them get off with a fairly light bit of a service. You know, they have to go around and like, help some of the traders out. They have to do a bit of cleaning, bit of a slap on the wrist. Like the lad says, we like to put the frighteners on them a little bit, but they didn't really do nothing serious.
Okay. The chief said he has to go now.
Yeah. You can continue the session. I can just be in the background if it's reasonable. Or
Well, we're kind of questioning for your sake, so.
yeah. So I'm just.
Would people like me to continue, or would you prefer I wrapped up here?
That's good. We've had 4 hours. I'm okay wrapping it here.
Okay. In which case, what happens is just before Thashif has to go, the young lad suddenly wriggles free of the guard's hold, he literally launches himself at you, sort of grabbing onto yourself, sort of around the shoulders, pulling his face level towards yours, Audius, and in a low, sort of gruff voice that seems quite out of place, emerging from the young mouth of this 12-year-old, he suddenly pulls his face right close to yours. You can feel his breath on your face, and in this low, growling voice, he goes, "Audius lives." And that is where we shall end the session.
All right.
Nice.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for playing, guys. I'm quite happy to chat for a little bit afterward, but
Sure.
I'm going to end the broadcast here. Does anyone have anything they want to say finally before we close the broadcast?
Thanks for running the session. Nice playing with
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will look forward to seeing what you make of this mystery in the next session. So to anyone who's watching this, either now or in the future, thank you very much for watching. We will see you all soon.